Say the name Secretariat, Affirmed, Seattle Slew, and you're speaking bloodlines as blue as the Kentucky grass. Churchill Downs, it's where long shots become legends, where pageantry meets tradition, where the groundwork is laid for a crown that not a decade or two or even more can erase or match. It's where man gets carried away by speed. And speed is what draws us in tonight as we trade in our fancy hats, mint juleps, and twin spires for helmets, green flags, and a scoring pylon.
No matter where NASCAR races, we like to throw around the word horsepower. Here in Kentucky, that takes on a whole new meaning. Where down the stretch they come, over and over again, at 190 miles per hour. Hey, why would you settle for 1 horsepower when you can have 700?
It is a pleasure to welcome you to Sparta, Kentucky and NASCAR Nationwide Series countdown for race number 15 of this 2012 season. And as we get ready to go green, let's take a look at this. It's an all Richard Childress Racing front row sweep led by the youngest driver in the stable. Austin Dillon snagged his second career pole over Kevin Harvick. How about this guy, Sam Hornish Jr.? Oh, how cute is that? Making a run at the championship, possibly tonight. He starts 4th. More on his recent streak coming in a little bit. And then our in-race reporter this evening, Cole Wicks. He's 5th in Nationwide Series points. He will start 10th, 1 spot in front of his teammate, Danica Patrick, coming off of her best performance, at least best race of the season 1 week ago. What can she do tonight in Kentucky? And we will have a pretty good view of what happens on the track, coming to you from the ESPN Pit Studio, which is the coolest place in all the track, quite literally, because it's been quite hot here today. Hi, I'm Nicole Briscoe, alongside Rusty Wallace and Brad Doherty. It's really cool, but it's also quite scary when it gets windy, which is exactly what just happened here about, an hour and 15 minutes ago. A massive storm cell is ripping through the Midwest in the Ohio Valley with winds.
Big time.
It really
exactly
just
right.
leaves you speechless. That's what happened to some of the crews. You can see what happened to the tent. The inspection tent for the Nationwide Series, it collapsed. But take a look at this. That is Sam Abney, the jackman for Austin Dillon. He was hit in the face when that tent blew over. The good news is he is okay. And he will be out there tonight. Again, he's the jackman for Austin Dillon. So this is what we've had today.
Yeah.
Temperatures plus triple digits.
Oh, yeah.
And now the sun is back out. Let's just throw everything at these Nationwide Series teams.
and you talk about crazy, Nicole. 105 degrees today at the peak, okay,
That's
Brad?
Right. That's right.
Down to 75. We've had a 30-degree temperature change in 20 minutes. Try to let the teams figure that one out when it comes to setting up a race car. That's going to be tough.
Slightly overwhelming. And as big of a story as that is not the biggest story of the weekend, because that surrounds the defending Nationwide Series champion, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And the story is this. He will not be running for a Nationwide Series title next season. Nope. That's because Ricky Stenhouse Jr. will be running for a Sprint Cup Series championship. And joining us now is our ESPN lead NASCAR reporter, Mr. Marty Smith. Stenhouse is getting that opportunity because another established championship-winning driver at Roush Fenway is moving on.
That's right, Nicole, and that's Matt Kenseth. He will move on from the Roush Fenway stable after the 2012 season. He said that he doesn't yet, he won't tell us yet where his destination might be moving forward. But here's the thing about Kenseth's decision that's announced right now. He's the points leader in the Sprint Cup Series. He's the Daytona 500 winner. He's fast everywhere we go. He's the most consistent driver we see in the Sprint Cup Series right now. So I asked him earlier today, what does this do for your team, and what challenges do you face in the attempt to win that second career title?
I mean, I think the biggest challenge is all the outside distractions. I think, my morale, the morale of the team and the guys around me and even at the shop, to get all this behind us and realize that it's up to us. It doesn't matter what's going on, around us and what people are saying and all that. And that's difficult, especially if you haven't been in that spot. It's a distraction, and everybody starts thinking about, letting their mind wander and thinking about all kinds of different things. But it's something for next year. It's not this year.
So we know Kenseth is off to another team in 2013 and that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. will take his seat in the Cup Series, likely in the number 17 car, not the 6 that Stenhouse covets. So where does this leave Stenhouse's best friend, also a Roush driver, Trevor Bayne?
We will have a full-time nationwide program next year, and the plan is now for Trevor to be the driver for that program.
Back to Kenseth for a moment. As I said, he won't tell us his destination just yet. He does have one. Multiple sources in the garage continue to tell me that Joe Gibbs Racing is where he'll land. Kenseth told me today this has been an extremely stressful season on him, but he knows this is absolutely the right call for his future. Now with the young man that will replace Matt Kenseth in the Roush Cup stable, here's Dr. Jerry Punch.
Thank you very much, Marty. What an exciting week for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I know you got to be just thrilled. Your face has got to be sore from smiling so much. Now, put this in perspective. 2 years ago, you came here to Kentucky but were pulled out of the car. Everyone said you're going to be punted in the ride. That didn't happen. You roared back, won Rookie of the Year, won a championship a year ago, and as of next year, you're a full-time Sprint Cup driver. Now, what does that say about you as a driver and the man you drive for, Jack Roush?
I think it says a lot for Jack Roush and everything that he's done throughout the years of creating race car drivers and bringing them up through, through the ranks. And to have somebody believe in you like that, it means a lot. For me, on the other hand, it was just never give up. Something I learned from my dad is just to keep working very, very hard. And, we're here tonight with a fast Sam's Club Mustang and ready to go for the win. But 2 years ago, watching this race was pretty difficult, and glad that we're in it now and really looking forward to next year.
Well, Ricky, how does this announcement now impact tonight and the rest of the year? I mean, can you now relax, or is there more pressure to perform?
I think it's a little bit of both. I feel relaxed. I feel comfortable and ready to go after this championship. Nobody puts any more pressure on than myself than I do, and I think we got a really good shot, really good race team to go forward with this. I had a meeting this week with them and told them, like, we might have a distraction this weekend, but from here on out, all we're worried about is tonight and the rest of this nationwide races and go getting this nationwide insurance championship. So it's that's our main focus right now.
Hey, congratulations on the great news, and good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Ricky Stenhouse, what a week it's been for him, Nicole.
Well, you did just hear Doc say it. Let's not forget how fast-tracked that this has been for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Because, sure, he's the Nationwide Series champion right now, but do you remember early 2010 when he was, that close to losing his ride?
This is something I wanted to do, is race for a living. And, I got the opportunity to do it. I just wanted it to last a little longer than it looked like it was going to last.
And no, we've got a crash. And look out, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. bangs the wall.
Tough for Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
You have about a half a season to prove yourself, and if you don't start to show some finishes, there's a lot of other resumes that cross these car owners' desk, and they start looking at them.
Jack said that he was going to pull me out for a race. He said, I think you have what it takes. You just got to get focused and do it.
Stenhouse in the mix in the 6 car. He's had a great run all night.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Nice job, baby. Nice job.
Mike Kelly, my crew chief now, came over, and something just clicked. Everything started working together. We were watching Brad Keselowski up on stage, and we told each other that's what we were shooting for this year.
I think if anybody has had a huge comeback from last year, it's got to be Stenhouse. And it's like a switch went off, and he's driving like a veteran driver, and he's doing a great job.
Stenhouse has really done a nice job as he's gotten more used to driving these cars and racing these type of racetrack.
You having fun, bud? We're back. Yes, we are.
The promise fulfilled today at Iowa. Mississippi's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is a winner.
Ricky Stenhouse is going to be a factor in this stock car racing for many years to come.
Here's the moment that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and all his fans have been waiting for.
You are the champ.
Your 2011 NASCAR Nationwide Series champion, Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
I look back to 2010, and I got to be thankful for where we are right now.
So the boss obviously thinks that he is ready for this, but what do you think? Is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. ready to be a Sprint Cup Series driver?
Well, I went through the garage here and talked to a lot of guys. I talked to Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer, just a couple of guys to name, and Kevin Harvick says this guy is going to be really, really good in the Cup car. Clint Boyer, same thing. He said he's raced around him. He's very talented. But the interesting comment came from Kurt Busch. I asked Kurt what his thoughts on it. He said, he's going to do well because he's got a really strong team around him, and he needs that team. We talked about, just as we saw in the piece, him wrecking the race cars and almost losing the ride a year and a half ago. But then coming back last year and having so much success, it shows the strength of that team, and he's going to go forward with that team. But the caveat to all that is, Joey Logano was in the same situation when he came out of the Nationwide Series, and we have seen him struggle in that Cup car. Good luck to Ricky Stenhouse.
I tell you what, I was able to go to Ricky's motorhome today and sit down with Ricky Stenhouse and look him straight in the eyeball and say, hey, man, are you ready? This is a great opportunity. He said, I'm ready. He said, dude, I'm not going to turn it down. I can tell you that right now. He said, but one thing people don't know is that Jack was going to put me in the number 6 Cup car next year no matter what. But now I get to be in the 17 car, the point-leading car. He said, I really feel like I'm ready. I feel like I'm grateful of this opportunity. He said, they're talking about taking me out of this Nationwide car next year. He said, I'm telling you, I don't want to come out of my car. They're talking about giving it to Trevor Bayne. I want to stay in my Nationwide car, and I want to run the Cup car. I feel like I need all this chance behind the wheel I can. So we'll see what happens.
I want to talk about the Bayne aspect of this in just a second. But first, I want to bring in our guest analyst this weekend. He's joining us for the second time. He's upstairs in the booth. He'll be calling the race with Andy and Alan. Carl Edwards, you're getting a new teammate next season in the Sprint Cup Series. How much pressure, though, is Ricky under now compared to what he would normally be under?
Well, it's a lot of pressure. I'm telling you, the first time I met Ricky Stenhouse, it was at a USAC Silver Crown race. He was hanging out with Roger Johnson's team, and Chris Santucci, he came over. He said, man, you got to meet this kid. He's a local sprint car racer. He's amazing. And I shook his hand, and they told me, they said, Ricky's going to be the man. Flash forward to Iowa a couple years later. I'm banging doors with this kid, and he is just an unbelievable driver. And I think Ricky's going to do very, very well. He's as good of a racer as has ever sat in one of these race cars. But you talk about pressure. When they told me that I was going to take over that 99 car for Jeff Burton, I was really, really excited. But it's a whole new world. It's a different dimension from what he's running right now to running these Cup cars. I think if anyone can do it, Ricky can. And I almost think the pressure is off because he knows he has that championship caliber team waiting for him. All he has to do is focus this year, learn the things that he can learn in this Nationwide Series, hanging around the Cup races, maybe running a few Cup races. And I think he's going to be very, very good.
Carl Edwards, good to have you back. Good luck tonight and have fun.
Thanks.
The interesting part of this, though, is seemingly Trevor Bayne, the Daytona 500 winner, was passed up for this ride. So what would you have done if you were in Jack's shoes? Obviously, he went with the Nationwide champ, but what carries more weight here?
I actually talked to Matt Kenseth about that today. And Matt said, really, there wasn't a lot of conversation about, putting Trevor in the Cup car. They were really, really impressed with how fast Ricky Stenhouse was all the time. He's just really quick on the racetrack. And he also told me that, he said, they feel like he's going to have some crashes, some setbacks, but they'd rather gamble on a guy they know is really, really fast. And look, this is no knock on Trevor Bayne whatsoever. He's very good, Brad.
He is very good, but obviously they made this choice for a reason. And you do hear that throughout the garage area. All the other drivers talk about Ricky and his ability to get up to speed very quickly. Now, just like Rusty said, he's going to tear up some race cars, do some things like that. But I'm telling you, the guys throughout that Cup garage think this guy is going to be a superstar.
Race fans, something to remember for you this evening. Check out Race Buddy. It's enhanced coverage for select Nationwide Series races with more cameras than ever. Log on to NASCARNationwideSeries.com/RaceBuddy. And when we come back, the battle that is heating up on the track for the title of points leader. What was once a two-man race is now a tight battle between 4 different drivers. Plus, Danica Patrick coming off her best performance of the season. Can she keep that momentum going at the type of track that's the bread and butter of this series? And then Ryan Blaney, the talk of the town at Richmond, first man out at Darlington. So how is he approaching his 3rd race of the season? That's coming up next. Back at Kentucky, where the dicey weather has rolled on through. The sun is back out and the temperatures are back on the way up as they were earlier today. Danica Patrick has never raced this track in the Nationwide Series, but she did make 7 IndyCar starts here, resulted in 1 pole and 4 top 10 finishes. Now, the results of last weekend may not say Danica Patrick had her best race of the season, but she did at Road America. She ran in the top 5 most of the day, and she even snagged the lead for a bit. She made a mistake later on, overdrove the corner, and got shuffled back, which put her in a precarious position at the end of the race. On the last lap, she was right ahead of Jacques Villeneuve. Doesn't matter who you are, because that is a recipe for disaster. She finished
Recipe for
12th.
whooping, what that looks like.
Dave Byrne, and then that happened after Tony Uri and Jacques having dinner reservations. Plan that out. Dave Burns, though, is standing by with Danica right now.
Actually riding by. We've waved to the fans on the front stretch now, heading into turn 1. Danica, last week, disappointing finish for you, but solid race. Even though this track is completely different, what pays forward for the 7 team?
I feel like we've been improving quite a bit over the last month or two. So, you know, I feel like last weekend at Elkhart was just a continuation of that. And, you know, we're starting 11th today, and I think that was decent considering our practice. We were probably a little bit slower than that. And, you know, I feel like we were tight this morning. So now that it's cooled off, it's just going to get freer. At least traditionally, that's what's happened. So hopefully that gives the GoDaddy car a chance to move up, and hopefully I'm comfortable and ultimately consistent. The tires aren't falling off too much, so I guess you need to go fast all night.
Absolutely do. You know, Tony and I were talking about how driving these ovals can be a challenge on deciding how to arc the corner in or dive straight in. You've been working on that. What did you improve on this weekend throughout the course of practice here at Kentucky?
I'm so distracted by the fans.
There's a lot of fans waving and cheering at you.
It's good that they're still out here because it was about like a tornado. I felt like I was in Kansas, not Kentucky. So, you know, a lot of what it takes getting into the corner depends on your car, depends on how it feels. If the car is loose, then you really want to kind of dive it in and get the car in early. And if it's tight, then you can arc it out and get it to rotate early. So it more depends on how the car's feeling, I think.
All right, good luck tonight.
Thanks.
As you mentioned, Nicole, 7 starts here in IndyCar, first one in the Nationwide Series.
Thank you very much. There are many people who, rightfully so, were impressed by what she did last weekend. But keep in mind, remember what happened at Michigan? She spun 3 times, 2 of them on her own. So we had one very inconsistent race, followed by a very good race.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said from day one that this is what I expected from Danica Patrick. This is what I wanted to see. Her get the seat time, get the experience. All these people were jumping around. When's she going to win a race? Or looking at the race. Oh, where's Danica starting? She's up front. All this nonsense. She's doing a very good job. She's a really good race car driver. She needs experience in these closed-wheel race cars. She's getting that. Let's stop talking about all this cup stuff. Let's stop talking about how many races she's going to win. She's getting better every week. Period.
Man, I tell you, every single time I think she's going to get her butt kicked on the racetrack, she comes through. She really starts running good. I mean, I wrote down here, I thought this year she could get in the top 20 on a consistent basis. Man, she's in the top 10 on a consistent basis. And look, I called that race last weekend up there at Elkhart. She dominated part of that thing by being up that top 5, in my opinion, for her all day long. She looked good up there.
Are you sure that's what you wrote there?
Well,
it's kind of, you know.
Looks like hieroglyphics to me.
But she was strong in Elkhart.
Yeah, she's a good race car driver.
Darlington, South
Did a
Carolina.
great job.
Finished 12th.
Yes.
Great job. There. She's exceeded my expectations.
You know who else has exceeded expectations,
Who?
at least in his series debut at Richmond? That would be Ryan Blaney. Finished on the lead lap. He is in the race again tonight after a disappointing second start in Darlington. So, Jamie Little, what is he expecting for race number 3?
Well, I know a lot of people are excited to watch him get back at it. First time on a 1.5 mile track. So you've seen the highs and the lows of racing in this series, Ryan. So what did you learn from those 2 races that will help you tonight?
Well, Richmond and Darlington were 2 totally different tracks, and really Darlington kind of brought me back down to earth, you know, the whole team, and you know, bigger track, and it's just so much different from what I'm used to, like especially at Richmond, a short track, and Kentucky here, it's way different than what I'm used to. So it'll be an experience, and hopefully I can learn pretty quick and see what comes tonight.
Well, Nicole, with all this silly season talk, Ryan told me he is optimistic for next year, maybe a full-time ride. They are definitely looking.
You know, this race used to be considered an opportunity race because up until last year, this was a standalone event. Cup didn't race here until last summer. And this year, it's an opportunity because the guy who has dominated this track is not in the race. We're talking about Joey Logano. He has 3 wins, 3 poles here. So that means opportunity. Like, how about the guy who won this race last night?
Yeah, James Buescher. I believe this guy's got some opportunity. He won Daytona, our opening race. He won the truck race, really dominated that race on Thursday night, just really looked fantastic. But take those races away for a second, Brad. It seems like every time he goes somewhere, he's up in the top 10. He's strong. I think that Buescher tonight can win this race. I think it's an opportunity race for James Buescher.
I like James Buescher. He's a hard-nosed racer, too. Really gets after it. He puts himself in position. You're right, Rusty. He can win this race. The guy I'm looking at, though, is Brian Scott. He had a terrible start to this year. Couldn't get a break. A lot of it wasn't his fault, but he's been chopping back. Each week, the past 5 weeks, he's had really good, solid finishes. I think he's capable of winning this race. This would be a huge shot in the arm for a good little race car driver in Brian Scott.
Coming up next, 4 drivers and fewer than 40 points. So which driver has the championship edge? And we'll tell you why Kentucky might give us a clue. Welcome back to Kentucky, where we've got quite the points battle heating up for this championship. You know, 5 weeks ago, there was a 74-point gap between the driver first in points and the driver fourth in points. That gap is now 34, with Sam Hornish Jr. making a serious run towards the front of the field. Right, Vince?
That's exactly right. In fact, no one has scored more points in the last 4 races than this man, Sam Hornish Jr., now fourth in points, as Nicole said. What's the next step this team has to take to be at the end in the championship?
Well, we need just a little bit more speed right now. Our work dodge has been good since we got here, but we've been working on getting our cars to rotate a little bit better off the corner so that we can complete passes, get them started a little bit further ahead on the straightaway. But all in all, I'm really proud of the guys. They've given me good, reliable cars. That's what we needed to be able to do to, that consistency of just finishing. I think we've completed all but 2 laps, so far this season. I mean, that's what you got to do to be able to win the championships. Be smart, be smooth, consistent. That's what we're looking to do right now. And I'm just, again, real thankful to be out here having a lot of fun, being able to run full time, and also getting to spend some time with the kids.
It's been a good weekend so far. Nicole, been fast on this 1.5 mile. Sam will roll off fourth.
I'll be honest, I wasn't listening to Sam. I was looking at his daughter. She's so cute. So, hey, this is a 1.5 mile track. We've been to 3 so far, but there are 9 remaining. Of the 19 remaining races, there are 9 1.5 mile tracks. So what's it take to be good at a place like this?
1.5 miles are the hardest thing in the world to figure out. It takes a lot of engine, a lot of aerodynamics, and a really good handling car. Unlike the road courses and the short tracks where you can kind of manhandle them as a driver, or maybe draft real good at Daytona and Talladega. In my opinion, the 1.5 miles take all these technical things, and they're harder to figure out.
Yeah, I agree. And I talked to drivers like Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer who told me, and Rusty said this to me 1,000 times, a good 1.5 mile track race driver understands the chassis of that race car. He can feel everything going on. He can direct his crew chief and crew to the specific parts of the race car he's having problems with. The guys that can't do that, they're in trouble.
Inconsistent if they can't figure it out.
So who's the chassis man to beat tonight?
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. When you come to these 1.5 mile racetracks, he is the man to beat, I think.
You agree?
It's going to be hard to beat Brad Keselowski. These guys going to be hot tonight.
All right, when we come back, we'll find out if these two are right or if they're wrong.
Kevin Harvick's good, too.
200 laps, 300 miles from Kentucky. Coming up in just a few. Don't
Denny
go
Hamlin,
away.
Kurt Busch.
Kentucky used to be a nice nationwide series-only party that celebrated opportunity. But now, the big boys are in town, too. And they're looking for a challenge. Yeah, it's time for a Friday night showdown.
Showdown it will be at Kentucky Motor Speedway, hosting the NASCAR Nationwide Series for the 12th time, but just the second as a Sprint Cup Series combo weekend. The fans who braved the 100-degree heat during the day and then that strange gust front that came through and cooled it off will get to see a talented field of drivers like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. go at it here in just a little while. Stenhouse, the defending series champ. Big week this week for him. Elliott Sadler, the current championship leader, hoping to keep some momentum going here. Danica Patrick off a super race last week tonight, facing one of the few remaining NASCAR tracks she hasn't raced a stock car on yet. And the big guns, Kevin Harvick, who has dominated but not yet won in nationwide races he's been in this season. And the defending winner of this race, Brad Keselowski, who last year stretched the fuel after having the dominant car that led the most laps to score the victory here at Kentucky. Brad is back to defend his title. He starts on the inside of row number 2. Those drivers and more taking on a fast, at times temperamental 1.5 mile track on a night where we hope the competition is as hot as the temperature was earlier this afternoon. Time to go trackside.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing, rise, and remove your hats as the Kentucky National Guard presents our nation's colors. Remain standing as Pastor John Roberts of Raceway Ministries offers tonight's invocation.
May we pray together? Our Heavenly Father, Lord, you give us so much to be thankful for. We're thankful for the Feed Children organization and the work that they do around the country. We're thankful for our freedom, and we want to pray for the men and women that protect us freedom and pray for the families of those that have given the ultimate sacrifice. Most of all, Father, we're grateful that you sent your Son, not to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved. Now we want to pray for the people in Colorado and the surrounding states that are affected by the wildfires, and we pray for the men and women that are trying to fight those fires. We pray for a safe event tonight. We pray these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Cincinnati, Ohio's own Cincinnati Children's Choir. For their performance of God Bless America, and for the Tri-State Area Boy Scouts for their assistance with the American flag.
Cincinnati hosting the World Choir Games next week, and certainly that a great preview for that. Now time to turn our attention to racing here at the Kentucky Motor Speedway, just 40 miles to the southwest of downtown Cincinnati. Did you know the Nationwide Series track qualifying record holder at this racetrack is Carl Edwards? Joined us in the booth tonight, 2005 winner of this race. You forget about that?
I didn't know that. So.
And champion crew chief Andy Petrie as well. Let's talk about this mile-and-a-half speedway in particular, because as we documented earlier on Countdown, there are a lot of mile-and-a-half tracks in NASCAR, but this one is a little different than most. What makes it so?
I was in the race car all day today, our UPS Ford, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted the car to do. I go down to turn one. There's a bunch of bumps down there. It's a big, wide, sweeping, banked corner. Then you drive down into turn three, and it's flat. The car slides a bunch, and coming off of turn four, the banking picks up. So, Andy, how do you fix that stuff? Because, I mean, I'm telling you, Bob and I worked on it all day, and it's very difficult.
Yeah, that's one of the things about this track. It doesn't have a lot of banking. It does have some. It's about like Richmond, really. It's a short track type of banking with a lot of speed. And these bumps, they make you actually have to compromise your setup, because you have to keep the car off the ground through those bumps. And so you're not making the most downforce that you can, and the car's never exactly like the driver wants, so you're chasing it all night.
Now, talking about those bumps down inside there, they set up a situation of trouble in turn two. You'll hear that call a lot in races here at Kentucky, because the guy on the bottom sometimes does lose that grip.
And I figured out why we have all the wrecks in turn two, not in turn three, because turns 1 and 2 scary so bad that you go into turn three a little easier and you don't make the big mistakes. You watch riding along here, there's some bumps, the guys in front of you are spinning. The groove is really wide and it's black, but it's really slick, and it just, once the car gets going, it's really hard to catch.
Yeah, one thing I've seen is the groove actually being moved higher because of the bumps. Looks like drivers are trying to use more of the racetrack up high.
And you can't see the bumps when you're driving, but you look for the smooth spots. You try to catalog where those spots are, and it's a pretty interesting race to try to find that smooth spot.
Numbers back up how tricky turn two is. Combine all the accidents over Nationwide Series history here in turns 4, 1, and 3 together. and they barely outnumber the total accidents in turn number 2. Now let's throw some other numbers at you. These drivers were expecting temperatures right now at race time to be 95 degrees. Had a big weather front come through earlier. The temperature is now 72 degrees. Crew chief, driver, what's it going to mean?
Well, it was totally unexpected to what we saw, this is the way this front came through here, but it's welcome. I'll tell you that. The crews are definitely going to feel better. They're going to be a little more energetic, not dehydrated like we expected them to see if it was as hot as it was, and I know the drivers are glad to see it too.
Yeah, and right now they're strapping in those cars and going, man, I hope we picked the right front springs. I hope we got this splitter in the right spot, because as the track cools down, you drive down in the corner and the car smacks on the pavement, and it makes the handling really tough to figure out. So hopefully they picked the right stuff. The cars are going to speed up, and this weather will help that speed.
The unknown element of how the car will handle on the cooler racetrack suddenly to play into the start of tonight's race that's just moments away here in Kentucky.
NASCAR Nationwide Series at Kentucky is brought to you by Viagra.
What's been a fairly unpredictable NASCAR Nationwide Series season so far, 7 winners in 14 races, continues right now at Kentucky Motor Speedway as we go trackside to get the race started.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome our Grand Marshal, Feed the Children President, Kevin Hagan.
Drivers, start your engines.
Good job, that's right. I think we can crank it up, bud. 10-4. Fire them up. Down here. Hey, more, buddy. I gotta go.
12 hours ago, the garage opened, the crews went to work, practice at 9 Eastern time this morning. Now the drivers and teams get what they came here for, to go racing at Kentucky. Our ESPN in-race reporter tonight is Cole Witt, rookie driver in the Nationwide Series, but 5th in the championship, scored a top 5 finish in the last oval track race. Cole is starting in 10th position here. You look at the NASCAR Nationwide Series championship standings, he's trying to creep in on those front 4 and make himself a factor in this championship picture. A race within the race, interesting to follow as the ups and downs of this season have progressed. We talk with Cole Witt, the driver of Dale Jr.'s 88 car, on the pace laps next.
No 2 NASCAR tracks are the same, but 8 of them are pretty darn close. The mile-and-a-half ovals are the bread and butter of the Nationwide Series. 12 races where a championship can be won or lost. Kentucky is one of those races. Run well here, and you're on the right track.
Cars getting ready to roll off onto the right track tonight, the mile-and-a-half Kentucky Motor Speedway for 300 miles for the NASCAR Nationwide Series, the Feed the Children 300, a day that saw temperatures in the upper 90s and a front came through, dropped them down to the lower 70s. Just something else to be on the mind of the drivers and crew chiefs as this race gets underway. Our ESPN in-race reporter tonight, a young man who just turned 21 years old, but he's quickly making a name for himself at NASCAR's top levels. Cole Witt, driving the Junior Motorsports number 88 Chevy, starting in 10th position in his first Nationwide Series race at this track, though not his first race at this track, Carl.
Yeah, let's see what Cole thinks about this. We've got a mailbag question from Rick, Fullerton, California. Hey, Cole, this is Carl Everett. You got me?
Yeah, but I got you.
Hey, now the question from Rick here in California is, you're running really well this season. Are you guys meeting all your preseason goals?
Yeah, I'd say so. You know, I mean, it's been a big learning curve for me. You know, everyone over at Junior Motorsports has been a big help. It's been a lot of fun. And, you know, so far I obviously want to be up there winning races, leading laps, but, you know, we've been getting a lot closer. So look forward to it tonight. I think we've got a good race car.
Hey, and then I think something I want to know and the viewers want to know is, what do you think of this racetrack? What's the biggest challenge here at Kentucky, your first time in the Nationwide Series?
The only thing I could compare it to was, you know, the truck. And, you know, the trucks ran a lot more wide open where, you know, these Nationwide cars are really a lot more on edge. You know, you lift a lot more and you're really driving them pretty hard. So it's been a lot of fun here, but I think the biggest challenging part is down here in 3 and 4. You know, the track's real flat on entry. Got a lot of big bumps right here in the center of 3 and 4 right here. Then it wedges up a lot with this banking here off of 4. So 3 and 4 is probably my most tough place to be, but I think it's going to show a lot of good racing.
All right, man, we'll have some good luck out there, and when the adrenaline gets going, the degree, I'm sure, will start working. So have a good time tonight. We'll be watching.
Yeah, 10-4. And I definitely got the best sponsor for this race. It's been hot out here, so thank you guys for everything.
You're even good at working in his sponsor. That's very
It
nicely
works.
done.
I've used it.
Now, normally we talk to the crew chief of our in-race report. I thought we'd do something a little different tonight. Andy's going to talk to the rear tire changer for the 88 car. Stephen Todges is getting ready to go. Andy?
Hey, Stephen, how's it down there as far as a rear tire changer? This is kind of new to you. You spent a lot of your career changing front tires. What is the difference? What's the challenges on the rear tire?
You basically change you're chasing the car, and, you know, I love chasing the car, so the rears are better for me, I think.
Yeah, you have to chase it to kind of keep up with that front guy because he's sitting there waiting on it when it stops.
Yep, you got to take your time up front, I guess.
All right, man. Well, good luck tonight.
All right, thanks, guys.
Okay.
Petrie used to change front tires. He always took his time.
That's right.
At least that's
I
what
let somebody else
Just like when you drove. I remember that.
That's what Harry did.
I thought you forgot about something.
Got some great high-definition onboard views for you tonight for our race. Elliott Sadler is carrying our Chevrolet onboard camera tonight. Austin Dillon from the pole position with the Goodyear onboard. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the Ford EcoBoost camera. Danica Patrick's got the GoDaddy.com camera. James Busher, the fresh from Florida Gulf Seafood onboard. Kevin Harvick, the Hunt Brothers Pizza camera. Ryan Blaney, the Nationwide Insurance camera. At Colwitt with the Degree for Men onboard camera here tonight. Final reports from Pit Road before the start. Here's Jamie Little.
Well, Alan, there's multiple Cup drivers in tonight's field, but two in particular to keep your eye on. Kevin Harvick is back in the 33, and Kurt Busch is back in the 54. Now, both drivers could win here tonight, but both have different levels of experience at this track. Kevin Harvick has 3 starts with an average finish of 3rd, with a win back in 2001. Kurt, on the other hand, never raced a Nationwide car here, but he's listening to advice from his brother and his boss man, Kyle Busch, to help him get through tonight's race. Let's go to Doc Punch.
Thank you, Jamie. You know, good news for Joe Gibbs Racing fans. This team has won 3 times at Kentucky Speedway. Now, here's the bad news. All 3 of those wins belong to Joey Logano, who's not entered tonight. But there is reason for optimism. Why? Because Ryan Scott in the number 11 inching ever so close to that coveted first win. And the veteran Denny Hamlin, driving the number 18, has finished 2nd the last 3 times out, so he is due. Let's go to Dave Burns.
Doc, last week, Austin Dillon finished 18th in his very first road course race, largely because his car didn't have 3rd gear for most of it. Yet he lost surprisingly little ground in the championship. Today, he qualified fastest on a familiar oval. Will tonight be the night the Young Truck Series champ takes the Nationwide Series point lead for the very first time? Vince Welch.
Defending series champion Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is in a bit of a slump. He's fallen from 1st to 3rd in points and hasn't had a top 10 in more than a month. But they believe that's going to change tonight. The team is confident. Ricky is relaxed after the announcement this week that he'll be running in Cup next season. They've got a very good race car, especially late in the run. And remember, Stenhouse has won 2 of the 3 races on the mile-and-a-half tracks this season. Alan.
All right, Vince, thanks. And quickly before the green, don't forget Race Buddy, enhanced coverage for select Nationwide Series races with more cameras than ever. Log on to NASCARNationwideSeries.com/RaceBuddy. So, mile-and-a-half track, 300 miles, that is 200 laps around this place. Only 2 former winners in Kentucky Nationwide Series competition in the field. They're Kevin Harvick and Brad Keselowski, starting 1st and 2nd on that inside row. By the way, they finished 1st and 2nd in this race last year. A familiar face in victory lane, or does Kentucky go back to its roots as an opportunity night? We find out in a little while, say 300 miles from right now.
If you watched on that start, the 33 car beat the 3 car of the line. He promptly gave that back up. And we're looking over here to watch the NASCAR officials next to us to see if they do anything. But I think that Harvick gave that spot back, and Austin's now got the lead. So hopefully they'll let that go.
Yeah, it wasn't a very clean restart or a start at all, but Austin Dillon finally does get off to a good lead here.
Dillon leads lap 1 for second place. Green and white car is Harvick. The red and white car is Sam Hornish Jr.
In the case of that start, I'm not sure that Austin Dillon knew where the starting zone was. It looked like Kevin was more ready to go.
Yeah, and that might be the case. When you come off of turn 4 here, the straightaway is so wide and it's one big arc. It's not a straightaway, and it might be hard to. That's something I'll be watching for tomorrow night. Make sure I've got the starting zone figured out.
Stenhouse 6, Kurt Busch 54. That's 6th and 7th place. Little wash up off the bottom there for Ricky.
Wait, Kurt Busch really flirting with the outside of that groove.
And again, a reminder, it's 25 degrees cooler now than it was forecast to be at the start time.
Yeah, this has probably thrown a lot of teams a curveball because most people thought it was going to be in the 90s. The track temp was probably going to be in the upper 120s when the race started, and that's not the case. The track's probably the best condition it's been the whole time we've been here.
As Keselowski drives under Harvick here, notice he got loose there. That's the flattest corner. They're still in the sun right there. They drive into the shade for the front half of the racetrack, and that'll change here in a little while. That back straightaway in turn 2 and turn 3 will become shaded, and the cars will pick up speed there.
This is third place.
Keselowski's working on it, but you get under a guy like that, and he can make it really hard on you, especially going into this turn 3. It looks like Kevin might be letting him go.
Yeah, it sounds like he let off the throttle.
Yeah.
So we'll carry this fight later on.
Yes.
Like Kurt Busch did get by Ricky Stenhouse.
Yep. So that'd be Kurt to 6th, Stenhouse to 7th.
And talking with Mike Kelly this week, they realize that they've got themselves in a little bit of a hole. They want to go out here and get the most points they can, get back to the points lead so that they can try some things they've been wanting to try all season. So Ricky, I'm sure, is trying to race smart here. Letting Kurt go, not racing too hard right now is probably the right thing to do.
Whoa, big bobble there.
Look at Kurt drive that thing. He's a wheel man, isn't he?
I say Ricky was waiting, but he says, I'll go right back by. Yeah, Kurt's going to make it hard on him, though. You see how they get through this corner, through these bumps side by side.
That's one of the things I love about this track is the bumps. I think that just adds that element, and you get to see these drivers really work the car. And I think that's one thing that makes this a driver's racetrack.
Yeah, you drive down the corner, and if you hit the bumps just right, everything goes great. If you hit them wrong, if you've got that wheel in the wrong spot, watch how Kurt's working that car up there. Sometimes you can get behind and just fight that thing the whole way around the corner. It's really tough.
So just as something to watch if you want a really fine detail. When we have the camera shot that shows the left side of the car going through the corners throughout the night, you can see those left side tires jumping up and down as they go over the bumps on the bottom side of that racetrack.
Yeah, we're watching Ricky here. He's the faster of the two, and look how hard he's driving that thing. I mean, it's an amazingly tough racetrack drive. He waves and says thanks. That sun right in your eyes like that when you're wheeling the car, if you've got anything on the windshield, it makes it really tough.
All right, so that's Stenhouse in 6th, Kurt Busch in 7th, Justin Allgaier, orange 31 car. He is running in 8th position.
Really, really tight mid-corner.
All right, fans this lap, put your fans on.
A little bit free into 3 still. 10 block fans.
Part of what makes the cars tight, but then free into 3 is that the car doesn't travel as much in 3, so you don't get that compression on the front end and get that aero platform. So even though Justin's saying his car is tight in other places, in turn 3 it's still loose. And as the night goes on, it'll get shaded, it'll get faster down there, and that'll come to it.
I talked to a lot of the teams, and they were expecting the track as it cooled down to maybe probably get looser. And so that's what a lot of teams were planning on, and it sounds like it's opposite for Justin.
And just the update for the folks that aren't the real hardcore gearheads. Loose is when the back end of the car wants to swing out to the right when you go into the corner instead of track straight. Tight is when the front of the car doesn't want to turn like you need it to when you go into the corner.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we don't talk about a lot when we watch these races is that what you want is probably what Austin's car is doing right now. All 4 tires are sliding just the same amount. You're making a ton of grip in the corner, and even though it doesn't look like it, those tires are really grinding on the pavement. And you don't want the fronts turned a little more than the rear or vice versa. You want all 4 sliding.
So after a slight hesitation at the very initial start, Austin Dillon has led all of the laps so far. The grandson of Richard Childress, driving that famous number 3, looking for his first win of the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Could it come tonight in Kentucky? Live Kentucky Motor Speedway, the NASCAR Nationwide Series on ESPN with Austin Dillon having led all the laps so far, though we are very early in the going on this Friday night. Quick reminder, ESPN's coverage of Major League Baseball continues Sunday and Monday. First Sunday, David Wright and the Mets take a West Coast trip to L.A. where they face Clayton Kershaw and the National League West leading Dodgers at 8. Then Monday night at 7, it's a battle for position within the AL East. Curtis Granderson and the Yankees take on B.J. Upton and the Rays. Sports Center scene in New York and Tampa. Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. Monday Night Baseball is presented by USAA.
That's one fast graphic right there. You see how fast it's going around there?
It's on board a fast race car as it was rolling. Austin Dillon, the race leader. Caution free so far here at Kentucky. Now we're talking about how this front came through and dropped the temperature from then 97 degrees to 72 now. It happened during Sprint Cup qualifying. Some estimates of the wind gusts have been up to 60 miles an hour. As teams and officials and track officials and fans rode it out, not everyone got through unscathed. Apparently, Vince Welch has more.
That's right, Alan. Milan Radanovic of the 38 team, one of the crew members that was down here on pit road at the time, was trying to keep their pit box actually from blowing away and suffered a hand injury. In fact, a compound fracture. They took him to the hospital, stabilizing it tonight and flying him home this evening. They'll do surgery in North Carolina. Evan Marshall, you see him there on the screen, has been brought down from one of the other Turner teams, the 31 car of Justin Allgaier, and Evan Marshall will fuel the 38 of Brad Sweet tonight.
Hi, Vince, thanks. It was a scary situation for a few moments.
It really was. We were up here in the booth, and it just came across. We were getting ready for the show. You wouldn't believe the pieces and the debris and things we saw flying through the air.
NASCAR officials report all okay from their camp. Track officials have reported no known injuries from around the racetrack that they are aware of at the time of that report, which is great news.
Yeah, I was getting out of the UPS Ford down there. I left my helmet on because I saw stuff blowing everywhere. One of the neatest things I saw is that big tent blew down, the inspection tent. I saw a bunch of crew guys run to the tent to help out. So a lot of good guys down there trying to help folks out.
But again, a scary situation that has, for the most part, turned out to be all good. Sam Hornish Jr., second spot now, is Penske teammate Brad Keselowski behind him in third. These two driving Dodges, of course, the Penske team going to Ford's next season. Dodge Motorsports, or SRT as it's known now, issuing a statement this afternoon after a lot of inquiries about what their plans are for the future, saying that they are going through their process and they don't have anything signed yet, but they are heading in a direction in which they expect to have things set up in the near future.
Yeah, I fully expect to see the Dodge brand out on the track next year.
Danica Patrick 7. And 36, Ryan Blaney having a race for 14th and 15th. They've been side by side a couple of times.
How much experience do either of these have on this racetrack?
This is Danica's first time, and I'm sure it's Ryan Blaney's
first time in a stock car.
Okay, yeah.
Was on the pole for an IndyCar race here a few years back and has a few races in IndyCar competition here. I would suspect it's quite a different place in the Nationwide car than it was in an IndyCar.
I cannot imagine driving an IndyCar around here.
And Ryan Blaney back for his first start since that terribly disappointing moment at Darlington back on Mother's Day weekend.
I thought he handled that really well, though. He made a mistake, got a little bit loose, hit the wall, got out, said, hey, it was my fault. He was frustrated. I think Ryan Blaney showed a lot of maturity. Even after making a mistake like that, I think he handled himself very well.
But his race that he ran at Richmond was so impressive.
Right now hanging in there in 15th spot, Jamie.
Yes, he is. And to answer your guys' question, this is his first time ever racing here for Ryan Blaney. As a matter of fact, it's the largest racetrack he's ever raced on. So he said he was learning his way around, but he felt pretty comfortable. Right now, his crew chief, Brad Parrott, just came on the radio and said that was your fastest lap. Keep digging.
Well, he's got the right guy helping him there. Brad Parrott helped me with a victory here, and that's pretty good. He's got.
Yeah, I spent some time on the scanner listening in practice to especially with his dad, with Dave Blaney on the radio, telling him a lot of things, a lot of helpful hints as he was practicing today. So I think it really got him up to speed quick.
Patrick and Blaney 14th and 15th. They are some 20 seconds behind Austin Dillon, who's led all of the laps so far. Dillon's up ahead on Sam Hornish Jr. by a little over 2 seconds. Caution is out. First time in the race. Jamie Mosley spun off turn 4. He's driven away. We'll show it to you in a moment. First, here come the leaders onto pit road. Vince.
And Ricky Stenhouse is coming in, the team warning him, please do not speed. It's a little free into turn 3, but a little too tight everywhere else. It's an air pressure adjustment, up 1 round on the track bar. Doc?
Danny Hamlin said it's so loose I can't get out of the throttle completely entering the corner, but it's tight on exit. Air pressure change, rubber in the right rear 4 tires. Jamie.
And Kevin Harvick says he's loose on throttle. Air pressure adjustment. Don't wait on fuel at the fast stop, Dave.
Leader Austin Dillon loose into the corner and to the center. They made an air pressure adjustment and only changed 2 tires. He'll keep the lead exiting pit road.
A lot of 2-tire changes there. A whole lot of 2-tire changes there.
Yeah, you can see just how many spots that Ricky Stenhouse lost by getting 4.
That's pretty interesting. I think here, as soft as the tires felt to me, I think you'd want 4 tires. We'll see how this goes.
Now, reason for the caution. Jamie Mosley, driving the 24 car, had a spin. Started right midway through turns 3 and 4.
Look at Andy use this telestrator, folks.
Yeah, he gets just a little bit free. He does a pretty good job after the fact.
I thought it was a pretty good job. Almost pulled right into his pit stall.
He missed the cone. Safe.
Get it fixed up.
Slid into home base. And drove away. First yellow's out at Kentucky. Up for the restart, couple of penalties. Ryan Blaney speeding, entering the pit lane. Brad Keselowski changed just right side tires, but it didn't go as planned. And he'll be at the back of the field for this restart.
Now they're changing right side tires, and the cue for the driver here is to go when the jack drops, but they have a little hiccup on the right front with some lug nuts, trying to get one on. The jack does come down, and I think there's some confusion with Brad, and obviously the guy wasn't finished.
I don't know where my right front guy went. He just disappeared. He never came around and knocked the nut off, and he was trying to get it on there, and they set the jack down because it was on there, but he never came around back around the car.
Green flag, restart. That will take Keselowski from 4th for the restart back to 30th. Ryan Blaney goes from 9th with his speeding penalty back to 27th.
A very even start between Austin Dillon and Kevin Harvick, and Austin had the outside lane, still drove right around him and took off. That's a very fast race car on a short run. Aubert probably got a chance to adjust on his car a little bit with the 2 tires, try to loosen it up. He's running 2nd now.
Yeah, the first run of the race, Austin Dillon did get out to a pretty good lead. It looked like it had stabilized, and some of the cars, I think Harvick was one of them, started coming back to him, making some ground back up.
So Allgaier to 2nd, behind Austin Dillon. Harvick 3rd, Sam Hornish Jr. there in 4th. Now Stenhouse there in the 6th. You're watching dive down to the inside in that black Ford. He was the first guy with 4 tires on the pit stop, the first to change 4. He came off the pit lane in 10th spot, gained a couple spots with the penalty cars, so he restarted in 8th.
Trying to get by the other Ford of Michael Annett. Everyone will be watching how Ricky's car performs right here, because that's one of the toughest things as a driver and crew chief is to decide 2 tires and 4 tires can make the difference later in the race. So everybody's watching. Look at these guys race.
Hornish shuffled. Harvick and Allgaier.
Now, you don't mind spending a little extra time on pit road, getting 4 tires if there's an upside. If there's not, then obviously you're just giving it away for nothing. So far, in this short of the run so far, I don't see a big advantage with those 4 tires on Stenhouse.
Elliott Sadler, Michael Annett. 6th place.
A lot of times you'll see that advantage on the end of the run when somebody gets 4 tires. After they run about 25 laps, you'll see those 4 tires start to come to the front.
Quick update while we watch this. Eric Darnell, the free pass at that caution, taking waiver rounds to get back on the lead lap. Danny Eflin in the 4, 17 of Tanner Berryhill, and the 52 car of Kevin LePage.
As these cars race around this racetrack, we're watching 3 wide here. Well, look at that's for 13th position. Danica's hanging tough right here. Look at how much rubber is on the racetrack. The grip level difference between running in the gray and in the black it changes the whole race. And as you run these runs, it's pretty interesting to watch the line migrate around. And different cars are fast and low, and different cars are fast high.
37, Patrick. 38, Brad Sweet. 12th and 13th, James Busher sliding back to 14th, maybe more, as Mike Bliss hunts around him.
There's those 4 tires. Stenhouse passing for 4th right around the top. It's a little smoother up there. If that thing's sailing like it looks like his Ford is, that's pretty nice to be able to drive right around the top of somebody.
Yeah, he had the 3rd fastest lap on the track and making that pass the last lap.
Change your mind about seeing the advantage of the 4 tires after a few more laps?
Need a little more time. I'll get back to you.
Okay. Love it. 50 miles in to the Feed the Children 300 at Kentucky for the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Austin Dillon leading. Riding with Austin Dillon at the Feed the Children 300 at Kentucky Speedway. Fans, check out Race Buddy, enhanced coverage for select Nationwide Series races with more cameras than ever. Log on to NASCARNationwideSeries.com/RaceBuddy. Richard Childress Racing Cars running 1 and 2. Austin Dillon leading Kevin Harvick, Dave.
Looking good, aren't they, Alan? In talking to crew chief Danny Stockman earlier today, I said, hey, you guys are a young team. You got any weaknesses right now? And he goes, yeah, my ability to make pre-race adjustments. Well, I think he's got some of that figured out. You saw how good he was on the first run. He made only minor adjustments on that pit stop, and then you saw how good he is right now. One more thing. Spotter Andy Houston is telling driver Austin Dillon, the only place the 33 veteran Kevin Harvick is better than you is exiting the corner. Use a little more racetrack, and you might pick that up.
That's pretty nice to have a guy like Andy Houston up there helping you as a spotter. I know I've got Jason Hedleski. He's a race car driver as well. And for a young guy like Austin Dillon, we're watching him here in the race car, to have a spotter that can say, hey, look, here's where you're getting beat. This is what you need to work on. That helps a ton.
2 things I want you to watch here as we watch Austin Dillon. Watch the eyes. You can see through the clear shield. Look at the focus in those eyes. And watch that head bobbing around. Give you an idea just what these bumps are like that we talked about as you run around this Kentucky track.
Yeah, as a race car driver, Austin's going to get out of this race, and for the next day or so, he's like, man, my eyes are dry. I wonder why. It's because you never blink. When your car is this good, you're focused like that, you can go, it seems like, for hours without blinking.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. first off pit road with a 4-tire change on that last set of stops. Vince, he's picked up 4 spots.
He has indeed, Alan, picked up those 4 spots, but he doesn't really like the feel of the race car right now.
We must be drilling the splitter on these low tires, because center off it doesn't turn. Then all of a sudden it'll start running better, and then all of a sudden the tires start giving up. Definitely on the splitter into 1.
He says it's still hitting the splitter, even though that the air pressures have come up. They did put around a wedge in during that first stop, and he says it's driving off the left rear a little bit too much. I'm not sure they're going to be able to correct that until that next stop, guys.
What he's saying is that front splitter, when it hits the ground, the splitter doesn't turn as well as the front tires. So when that front of that car, right under the Mustang logo there, it starts hitting the pavement, the car will not turn. And when they said they put a round in the left rear, sometimes that tilts that right front of that splitter down to the ground a little harder. And as the speeds pick up, that's going to get worse. So Mike Kelly and those guys are going to have to come up with a way to fix that if they want to win this race later on.
Yeah, and as that sun keeps going down and it starts getting cooler and cooler, that problem does get worse.
Of course, Ricky Stenhouse in the news this week, being appointed to a full Sprint Cup Series ride by Roush Fenway Racing for next year. Said he found out and then kind of had a blackout imposed on him.
Yeah, they didn't want him to talk about it.
Kind of speechless, and then I was kind of disappointed because they told me I couldn't tell anybody. I was like, are you kidding me? So I rode home that weekend. We raced Road America, and I was driving home with my dad back to Mississippi. So I was in a motorhome for 700 miles, and I couldn't say anything to him. So that was a little difficult.
Can you imagine that? You get the deal that you're going to go to the pinnacle of NASCAR racing, and you're 700 miles with your dad sitting next to you, and you can't tell him.
That had to be tough.
I think I'd have to tell my dad.
He probably did. He's probably fudging a little bit. Don't get in trouble with Jack. Ricky and his dad are really tight.
Bobble there. Sorry, Bobble from Hornish, and Ricky's going to get 3rd spot here. Or at least be able to race for it. Sorry, Carl.
Yeah, and even with that car hitting the ground, he's still fast. I think 4 tires were the right call. Looks like Kurt Busch is putting the move on 43 car there.
5th place there. Kurt going by Michael Annett.
I'll tell you, Kurt Busch has been having to really drive this car, though. I saw early in the race he couldn't hardly hold it down in anywhere near the bottom of the track. I think they probably made an adjustment. It looks like it's a little better, but he's still wheeling it.
Yeah, I think Jamie's got a report on the biggest mover there, Kurt.
Kurt took 4 tires on the pit stop, and he's gained 14 spots. Jamie?
Yes, he did. That first run that we were talking about, how loose he looked. He said he was just a 5 loose, but he wanted some changes. So they put a spring rubber in that left rear, which is why they changed 4 tires. And he said, man, we had no indication of this. You see his brother Kyle on the left-hand side. He's talking to his brother about the car. Now, since the adjustments, Kurt is saying it's better. We're about a 3 loose. We need to keep working, though, and he's already gained 8 spots since the restart.
Just a 5 loose? What does that feel like, Carl?
Yeah, 5 is a lot on my scale. There you see Kyle's got 2 wires coming down. He's probably got a radio that he's talking to the crew with, so he's not bothering his brother. Now, you never know. He might not care if it's bothering his brother. He might just be talking, but he's probably talking to the crew there, explaining his version of how to fix this thing.
Yeah. I spent some time in the garage area with this team during practice, and Kyle was right there the whole time. He's very into all of the aspects of the team, and was very involved in what they were doing as far as changes and talking to Kurt on the radio.
Now we saw Brad Keselowski had that problem on his right front tire the last pit stop. He went way back to the back, and he's marching forward. He's picked up, 15 or 16 spots since the pit stop, so doing a great job.
He restarted 30th and just moved up there. We saw him to 13th spot. Elliott Sadler, Brian Scott, Denny Hamlin, 211 and 18. And that's for 8th, 9th, and 10th.
And the 2 cars better with Elliott Sadler. He's better this run than he was the start of the race.
We had some interesting audio we heard in the break about was it Denny in the 18 talking about all 4 tires were chattering. He said all 4 tires were chattering. That's not a good sign. You don't want to go down the corner and have the car.
Well, we were talking about the balance, and you want all 4 tires working about the same. It sounds like that's what's going on.
You want them all 4 sliding, maybe not making grip, not chattering.
Okay, right there is a little miscommunication because he said what I heard was a 4 wheels chatter. The crew chief heard rear tire chatter. So that's kind of how you can get in trouble when you're trying to make adjustments on the car if you don't interpret what he's saying on the radio. Doc, what are they saying now about that car?
Well, Andy, it's a very good point. They actually called him back on the radio a moment ago to clarify. He said rear tire chatter. Now, when they made that pit stop, they put a rubber in the right rear because Denny said the car was so loose on entry he couldn't get completely out of the throttle, and it was tight on exit. Now, since that communication a couple laps ago, Denny has said the car has just gotten worse and worse, almost undrivable. It is so hard out there, so he's hanging on to the next pit stop. Going to be able to hang on, make an adjustment. He said right now it's all about just keeping track position and keeping it out of the wall.
I don't know if it was 2007 or 2008, but this track was the absolute worst race car balance-wise that I've ever had. This track can be so miserable. We fought that race car the whole night. It sounds like that's what's going on with Denny. They've got something wrong in that car that's not working on the bumps, the air pressures, the shocks, and this track can just be terrible to drive.
Yeah, there's definitely something wrong when you see Denny Hamlin running 9th in a nationwide race. You expect him to be one of the top 3.
Well, Denny is languishing much further in traffic than he would like, while Austin Dillon has had nothing but clear sailing on the nose of his Chevrolet all night long. He's been the only leader of the race so far. 55, now 56 laps in the book, all paced by the driver of the Richard Childress Racing number 3 here in Kentucky. NASCAR Nationwide Series, Sparta, Kentucky at the Kentucky Speedway, where this race for second is heating up. 33's Kevin Harvick, that far behind Austin Dillon, your race leader right there, with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. continuing to rumble toward the front.
Now Ricky Stenhouse on the last pit stop got 4 tires, and I think that's paying off now late in this run. He's been really fast to the center of the corner, but he can't put together a whole lap here to get by Harvick.
One thing you'll see with these races that transition from day to night is that the guy that gets out front early is not necessarily going to be the guy that's going to be there at the end to beat. Right now, that 6 car does look good. Those 4 tires are coming alive.
But Austin Dillon, I think, has done a great job. He started on the pole. He's held off Harvick and these guys on each restart, and he's set sail. And you really don't know how fast the guy's car is right now. Look at this lap traffic. Ricky's been right in the mix. A couple of really close calls.
when you're doing that, Carl, you're leading a race, and you're really good out here with the conditions the way they are. I mean, it's a pretty big responsibility to try to keep up with the track, though. And when you're leading, it's hard to adjust on that car, I would imagine.
You know how it is. When you're leading a race like this and you're out there and things, you get kind of complacent. Don't say anything, Alan. I know you're going to say.
I know what it's like to have a driver that's leading the race.
Thank you.
And you get a little complacent. Austin Dillon, has got to work really hard not to do that, because these guys back here are racing, fighting, clawing. They're adjusting their race cars. And as Ricky gets by the 33 here, looks like he'll clear him for second place since that sailed. Now we'll see how good Austin Dillon's car is.
About 20 laps away from pit stops if we don't see the yellow flag again. And about to hit the 1/3 mark of this race, just the one caution so far. Championship, big story all season long in the Nationwide Series. It's been close. The top 3 players, actually the top 4 players in the fight tonight. Austin Dillon leads. Stenhouse Jr. is second. Sam Hornish Jr. is fourth. And Elliott Sadler is way back in 12th place. He just gave up a spot to Brad Keselowski.
The best cars through the center, 3 and 4, right on the bottom. I don't know how you're handling the drive down there, but that's where the fastest cars are running. I can't run down there, man. It won't do anything I want it to do. F4, man. Sit.
Yeah, the handles definitely fell off of this car. He can't drive it to anywhere near the bottom, so he can't handle the bumps. This is one of the places that I really felt like this team might struggle. We've seen them run real well on these smooth tracks, but they have a lot of issues when they're dragging that splitter and they're on it too much. And this is the kind of track that you got to keep that car off the racetrack.
Boy, he is wicked loose, it looks like, into 3, just trying really hard not to slide that race car up the racetrack and get out of the groove. Sounds like Jamie has more on the number 2 car, Elliott Sadler.
Yeah, and I talked to his crew chief, Luke Lambert, earlier today, and he said, yes, they're definitely struggling on this style of track. Other than Las Vegas, they haven't had a result that they wanted. There's his crew chief on the right side, and you guys nailed it. He's very loose in. He says the right rear shock feels like it's bouncing like a basketball. He's desperately wanting some changes.
All right, Jamie, so go ahead.
I was going to say, the shock in a track like this is difficult. You put springs in the car. The springs are what hold the car up, and the shock has to be matched perfectly to the springs, so when it bounces over those bumps, the tire doesn't feel like it's coming off of the racetrack. If you've got the wrong shock on it, it feels like you got a pogo stick down there. Kurt Busch passing for 4th place right here. He's got the right shocks on. Mike Beam.
Yeah.
We've run really well here with Mike Beam, and he's Kurt's crew chief. He was the crew chief on my car last year on the 60. And they've been working really hard this year and doing well.
And one other thing, we're also seeing for the first time tonight the trend of a car's handling over a full fuel run. Right, first caution came out 25 laps into the race. Now we're going a full fuel run here, and some guys, Stenhouse, maybe Kurt, have better long-run cars than others.
And we still haven't seen that sun go down. We're only 70 laps in, 69 laps in. We've got a lot of racing left. The track and the conditions of this track can change a ton. When that cold front came through today, qualifying, everyone picked up about 3 or 4 tenths in the Cup cars. So I think the track's going to change. Guys who maybe their shock package or their splitter's not right, it could come around and run really well for them. Guys that are running well right now could have trouble.
Air temperature's actually gone back up 3 degrees since the start of the race. Austin Dillon has had no trouble so far. The first third of this event have been dominated by that 3 car and its driver.
Summer has arrived. With each passing day, the mercury rises. Temperatures increase both outside and inside the race cars. This is the heat within which championship contenders are forged, while all others simply melt away.
And it's a very tight championship battle this night at Kentucky Speedway. Entering the night, 4 drivers within 34 points. Austin Dillon, the driver who was second in points heading into the night, leading the way. And that's important because if you want to win the Nationwide Series Championship, you have to be good on 1.5 mile tracks. And Countdown, we said earlier, these types of tracks are 1.5 miles. They're the bread and butter of this series. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 6, who's running in second right now, has been very good at these tracks this year. He won at Vegas, he won at Texas, but struggled in Charlotte, and he told you there's a reason for that, Rusty.
Yeah, he struggled a lot. He struggled big time at Michigan and struggled big time at Dover. Now look at Charlotte. We'll give him a break. He broke a drive shaft there. But I told him the day, I asked him, so Ricky, what's going on with these cars? He said, Rusty, we tried some things in Michigan, in Dover, which I consider our non-standard setups. We were experimenting a little bit. He said, watch us today. We got kind of our basic setup back in the car. I feel real good. And I think today you're going to be able to judge me in the way we really look. So right now, Brad, he's in second place. He's looking good. Looks like you're back on track to me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, anytime automatically when someone asked me during the week when we were going to a 1.5 mile track, who's the favorite, I would automatically say Ricky Stenhouse or whoever was driving one of these Roush Fenway cars. They're excellent. But I'll tell you what, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is the fastest car on the racetrack. And when he gets to Austin Dillon, he's a 1.5 seconds behind. They're going to have a heck of a race.
Coming up on pit stops as we are just past the 1/3 mark, Danica Patrick. Vince?
Danica Patrick says the car is loose into turn 1 and tight on exit of both ends, but still running pretty well, as you noted, in the 13th position now. Of her 4 career top 10s, 3 have come on the 1.5 miles. This intermediate size track, definitely her comfort zone.
Danica currently in 13th, running right by Brad Sweet. We've seen them on the track a lot together. Coming up on pit stops, so let's head back upstairs to AB and the gang.
All right, Nicole, thanks. We have already seen Cole Witt on pit road under the green flag. That during the commercial break a couple of minutes ago, stopping much shorter than we expected. So either they didn't get it full of fuel on the only pit stop they made so far, or they were making a strategy play. We'll follow up on that in a little bit. Caution out only time in the race at lap 25 for a Jamie Mosley spin. All the leaders came to pit road. 8 drivers got just right side tires only, including this young man, Austin Dillon. Now we're expecting to see him on the pit lane again around lap 83 to 85. Maybe some push it even a couple laps further than that.
I'm impressed with the way the tires are holding speed through the run. The fastest lap that Austin Dillon's run is a 31.29. He's still running down in the 31-second bracket. Last lap a 31.90.
Yeah, let's hear. It sounds like the 18 has some issues. Let's hear what he has to say about it.
Sounds like you got a miss or something, yeah. You want to bring it to us, or do you want to ride it out, or does it mean to bring it to us? It's up to you. I mean, we can ride it out. Stay out, keep it up.
All right, so keep an eye on Denny Hamlin in that 18 car. Meantime, some of the top 5 have made the move to pit road, Jamie.
And Kevin Harvick took right side's only last stop, and he slipped back a couple of spots, just looking for overall grip, doing 4 tires, as you see on the left-hand side, as the leader of the race comes down pit road.
Austin Dillon in. Sam Hornish has also stopped. Elliott Sadler has come to the pit lane. Kurt Busch, Johanna Long, all in for green flag pit stops. This one at lap 82 for Austin Dillon, Dave.
And Alan, he reported that his car was looser and looser on that run, but he was encouraged by the crew. Hey, not bad, you're still out in front. And so they will make just an air pressure adjustment. 4 tires will go on the 3 car. Remember, he was one of the guys that took 2 last time. And the leader will cleanly come on to pit road, get service, and cleanly leave.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. took over the lead when Austin Dillon pitted. He now comes down on the pit lane, Vince.
Well, in that 6 of Ricky Stenhouse, remember they talked about the fact that the car's been on the splitter. It's a 4-tire change, also making a chassis adjustment to help him with the splitter. He says he can't attack the corner the way he wants because the way the car's banging on that splitter. Having a little trouble there on the left side, guys.
Well, what happened is Ricky drove around the car that was behind the box behind him. He got on the brakes a little bit too hard. It looks like he slid a little closer to that wall than he wanted to. Jackman had trouble.
Back him up.
Yeah, they got big problems. A bad pit stop. Now they have to vacuum out. They're going to lose a ton of that time.
And there's the 18 on pit road, issue after issue. Now they saw it finally get it refired. They have a miss, but they're going to wait for a yellow to go under the hood. Just 4-tire change, air pressure on Denny Hamlin's ill-handling car.
Michael Annett took over the lead. Now he comes to the pit lane. Justin Allgaier will cycle out in front. Here's Brad Keselowski coming in. Danica as well on the pit lane. Vince?
Well, Danica Patrick says she just can't get in the way she wants to get into the corner because the car is just too loose. Again, making a chassis adjustment on the 7 of Danica Patrick. Dave?
Vince, Brad Keselowski, before the round of stop start, had driven from 29th all the way up to the 9th position. He gets a 4-tire change at this point, a little wedge adjustment on the car. It was just a little bit loose off of turn 4.
So Justin Allgaier has not yet pitted. Now slowing in turn 4.
Coming to you, boys. Coming to you.
That's going to cycle the lead back around to Austin Dillon. as Allgaier comes in here.
Guys, my heart is beating right now for the championship. Elliott Sadler just got by Ricky Stenhouse with that mistake on pit road, and that's how close this is right now. This is there's still a lot that can happen in this race.
Whoa. See him accelerating into the pit stall, Dave.
Yep, he knew where the timing line was and he accelerated faster.
Carl Edwards would know about that, wouldn't he? He was very good at finding those timing lines. Justin Allgaier for this run, very tough through the bumps in turn 3 and 4. And the car loose, but tight at the same time, basically landing on, there's no rear grip in this thing. They make a track bar and air pressure adjustment.
I can't believe I invited Dave to my wedding and everything. He's still
And I can't believe you practiced every Saturday to make that Sunday race so much better, Carl. You did that very, very well.
So Kenny Wallace still has yet to pit. Other than that, everybody has stopped in this cycle of pit stops. Remember, Ricky Stenhouse was closing on Austin Dillon before the stops? Now, get your sundial out, because the time from that 6 car up to the 3.
Yeah, you almost need a calendar to clock
Your
this
sundial,
distance now.
calendar.
It's almost a lap.
Now what Ricky needs is he needs a caution. Well, first thing he needs to do as a driver, when you do something like that, it's so frustrating. I mean, my heart's beating for him up here. I'm feeling a little hot under the collar. He's got to be very, very frustrated. And now he's got to settle in, realize he's got a long race. Mike Kelly should be talking to him on the radio and saying, hey, let's get back up there. We've got a fast race car.
Yeah, that's the key. They got a good race car. They'll get a break and get it back. The thing is, if you don't have a good car, like Denny Hamlin, when he has problems and doesn't have a good car, you can't make it back up.
As we watch Ricky here, he's focused in. He's driving right in front of him is Elliott Sadler. He knows the implications of what happened. And what he's got to do now is control himself and say, hey, I'm not going to have a problem, here with lap traffic. I'm going to be patient, get by him. Let's take another look at what happened here in the pits.
Watch as Stenhouse approaches his stall.
It's so
Whatever
difficult.
you need here, come on.
You pull in. You want to get stopped. You want to lock those tires up for your guys so they can see all 5 of those lug nuts. And he just slid a little farther than he wanted to.
Now the crew's all out of rhythm, trying to go around the car. They don't have enough room to make the left side change.
Guys, keep an eye on the jack man. That's Jeremy Neely. There he is on the left rear tire. Now he's grabbing the jack. Now when he runs around the front, watch him hop right here. When he came down, you can't see it there, but he fell and suffered a knee injury. You'll better look at it right here.
Oh. Yeah, there's where the problem was.
So that's what caused them such a delay to begin with. You mentioned, Carl, him having to come around the 40, and then when Jeremy Neely suffered that knee injury, that delayed them even further. They have taken him to the medical center for evaluation.
Jeremy's a great guy. I hope he's all right.
Took Stenhouse from 2nd place to 11th place, from 2.6 seconds behind Austin Dillon to 23.7 behind. A lot of ground to make up, but a lot of race left in Kentucky. A champion will be crowned as Euro 2012 concludes Sunday on ESPN. Spain attempts to repeat as champions. They take on Italy in the final. Spain-Italy, Sunday, 2:30 on ESPN, ESPN3, and watch ESPN. Who do you like, Spain or Italy?
Italy.
Okay.
Max Pappas. He's a good friend of mine. I'm sure that's who he's cheering for.
Probably so. Here at Kentucky Speedway. Closing in on halfway in tonight's NASCAR Nationwide Series race. Only one caution so far and one dominant driver. The leader, Austin Dillon, has been out in front for 92 of the 97 laps. We go up to speed with Nationwide Insurance. Pretty good night for car 3 so far, Dave.
It has been, Alan, and he's had a very good early part of the season. And you ask crew chief Danny Stockman about it, and he'll say that's because Austin doesn't put his car in bad spots. And there was a good example. Don't go up high there, go low, and get around both those drivers, Jamie.
And behind him is Kevin Harvick. You see him, he slipped back just a little bit before that last round of stops. He said he's just wrecking loose, but meanwhile, he has the support of his wife, Delana. There she is on the left-hand side, due with their first baby in just 3 weeks. So he's happy to have her. I know he had a big smile before he got in the race car, but it's getting better. And right behind him, the man who's trying to beat Kevin Harvick is Kurt Busch. Now, he's been fighting a loose race car all night, so on the last round of stops, they went a little bit more on the same adjustment, added a half spring rubber in the left rear, track bar adjustment, this time 4 tires, and they filled it up. He said the car is settling down a little bit, Dave.
And for Sam Hornish, the way the car is handling tonight is kind of the way he was feeling about it in practice. When I asked him about it earlier today, he said the car has had speed, and it still does. They're running fourth, but it hasn't been as comfortable as I've wanted it to be. Remember, very loose on that last run. They made a track bar and air pressure adjustment to try to help it this run. Doc?
Give a call to Michael Annette. Yeah, Michael is the other Ford. Ricky Stenhouse is one Ford. There's Michael, the other one. This is a former Carl Edwards Roush Fenway car. Of course, they have Roush Fenway, Roush Yates engines. And the setup, basically, is shared setup between the 43 and the 6. And right now, they're going to share a jack man. Right side of your screen, that is C.B. Gilbert with the helmet on. He jacks Michael Annette's car. He's going to be running back and forth up to jack the 6 car when they fit, and back here to jack the 43 when they fit.
Yeah, that's got to be tough.
That could get interesting if the caution comes out and they both have to pit at the same time.
Tough to be doing that.
Rest of the top 10, Brad Keselowski. Remember, had the tire violation earlier when they changed just right sides, and the tire changer dropped the lug nut. Wasn't back around the car yet before Brad took off. He went back to 30th. He's come back to 6th position.
Al Geyer is right behind Brad there. He was struggling with a tight race car earlier. We saw him up there in second place running for a little while. I haven't heard what he's struggling with now, but he seems to be running pretty well, chasing Brad down.
About a half a straightaway back is Brian Scott in Joe Gibbs' car, the one Joe Gibbs car that's running good tonight. Denny Hamlin having trouble with that 18 car, and he's back a little ways.
Cole Witt, our in-race reporter, he's hanging on back there in 9th place. That's Denny Hamlin right there in the, Brian Scott in the 11.
Yep, then Eric McClure in that 14 car, not on the lead lap at the moment. Then you get back to Cole Witt.
Vince has got some updates on the 88 of Cole Witt running right there behind the 14 that we're looking at now.
Yes, running up in the top 10, says it's loose in, tight in the middle, and loose off. And Alan asked the question earlier when Cole came in for that previous pit stop. It was about 10 laps early because they had a radio issue the first time, did not get enough fuel in on that initial stop. So that was the reason why they had to come in sooner than everyone else on that second pit stop.
Hi, Vince. Appreciate that update. So that's what set Cole Witt off a different schedule than some of the others.
Man, you saw Ricky Stenhouse underneath him there. Looked like they got in the corner. Ricky was loose, and he missed him by just a little bit. Ricky's really driving hard. He's got to remember that big picture, though, right now.
Got to try and come back. And the only other car on the lead lap is that 2 of Elliott Sadler, and he's not going to be on the lead lap for long.
Dude, I'm driving my so thing's a freaking handful. 10-4, man. Stay after it.
That's his teammate Austin Dillon about to put him a lap down.
That is really tough right now. Elliott Sadler's a veteran. He knows what he wants in a race car. What he's saying there is, guys, trust me, believe me, I'm doing the best I can. We got to fix this race car. There's still a ton of laps left. You know, if Austin Dillon were to get by him right now, Ricky Stenhouse is the next car, so Elliott Sadler would be the lucky dog. So now this is the time. It's the toughest for a race car driver. Elliott Sadler's got to stay dug in. He can't give up here. He can't quit. He's got to do the best he can to stay on that lead lap.
If history holds true, he's going to get a caution soon. Longest green flag stretch ever here at Kentucky, 86 laps.
Yeah, look
we're
at that
75 in right now.
That 3 car is hooked up.
The good thing is he knows what the 3 cars got in it. You know, his crew chief knows who these guys are racing.
Whoa, hang on, everybody.
There's Denny Hamlin. Really struggling tonight at 18.
No struggles for Austin Dillon. 7-second lead on second place Kevin Harvick. He's led all but 5 of the 106 laps so far. Motorsports this weekend on the ESPN networks include the O'Reilly Auto Parts Route 66 NHRA Nationals qualifying 6 Eastern tomorrow on ESPN2, and the finals on Sunday also at 6 Eastern, also here on ESPN2. And don't forget the Nationwide Series 1 week from tonight is at Daytona. Gotta love it. The Subway Jalapeno 250, 7 o'clock Eastern next Friday on ESPN. Here at Kentucky Speedway, we are past the halfway point of tonight's NASCAR Nationwide Series race, and really you're looking at the story. Young Austin Dillon, last year's NASCAR Camping World Truck Series champion, steady, consistent, solid through the first 14 races of this Nationwide Series season, but seeking that first win. and definitely in position to have a shot at it tonight. He's up by 7.9 seconds on Kevin Harvick. He's extended it by a full second just in the length of that commercial break.
I have to say, when I was over at Clint Boyer's house about 5 or 6 years ago riding dirt bikes with Austin and his brother, I'd never imagined he'd be this good of a race car driver. It's just, he's done a great job. He's really shown a lot of, just managed this whole race really well tonight. And he's holding off some really stout competition here.
Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch racing second and third. Harvick has led the most laps in 3 of the 5 Nationwide Series races he's been in this year. Hasn't got the W yet.
Andy and I are just, we cannot get over how Kurt Busch is driving this race car. If you watch that car, he drives down the corner. The car is doing one thing. The front tires are doing another thing. It's hopping all over the place. He is really making that car do what he wants it to do. That's pretty cool.
He's an amazing driver. I've talked to the team over there at Phoenix Racing. I've talked to them a lot. They talk about how much he can get out of a race car and what it does for them. It's just like unbelievable talent that he has.
The great drive at Road America last Saturday when he showed up unpracticed, jumped in, ran a couple qualifying laps, started at the back, overcame some mechanical troubles, got a top 10 finish out of it, went back to the West Coast at Sonoma, took James Finch's car, led into the late stages of the race, had to settle for a third place finish, very emotional when he got out of the car. As Kurt goes for second place here on Harvick, what struck me about last Sunday in Kurt Busch was the reaction of other drivers. Clint Boyer, the race winner, in the post-race press conference. Other drivers posting things on Twitter, showing Kurt Busch a lot of respect. Given the story that's revolved around Kurt Busch over the last 8-9 months, was last Sunday a rebuilding step at showing the world that his peers respect him as a race driver?
I think so. I think everyone has watched what Kurt's done this year, and all the the drama aside, I told him the other day, I said, man, you are driving the wheels off of those race cars. He is doing a very, very good job. And I'm telling you, if you watch what he's doing right here, as any race car driver that's watching this knows, when you see that car wiggle around and it's moving like that, he's still, even though it's moving, he gets it pointed around the corner. He stays in the throttle, and that's really hard to do. It takes some serious talent to do that.
And he's had some struggles off the track and a lot of things going on, but I think all through that, the other drivers respect his talent. It's because it's so obvious, and I think that's something he does get that respect on the track.
Yeah, it's a little demoralizing, I'm not sure what Kevin Harvick's thinking right now, but when a guy like that passes you and his car is moving around that much, it makes you go, dang, man, I got to drive harder. And Kurt does that to a lot of guys.
Big Brad watching Kurt Busch take second spot down in the pit studio. Brad, you got a thought on that conversation?
Yeah, AB, I was with Kurt today, and we were sitting there talking about last week at Sonoma, and I tell you, he was almost tearing up talking about how close he came to getting a win. And it's really interesting as he went on and we talked about he really wanted to get that race car to victory lane. He drove the wheels off of it. You know, he had a panhard bar that broke. And it was funny, last week Tony Stewart said that following Kurt, and he didn't know what was coming out of the back end of that car, but there was pieces and parts flying. He was driving the wheels off of that race car. So, yeah, I think Kurt's really trying to put his best foot forward as far as trying to learn from his incidents in the past. He's got a lot to prove to a lot of people, but that cat can will a race car, no doubt about it.
Driving brother Kyle's 54 car here. It's kind of a show within the show as well, watching Kyle watch Kurt on the racetrack as Kurt has picked his way forward from 8th position where he started in this race toward the front. Kyle's been up on that pit wall. He's been talking on the radio to the team. He's been bobbing and weaving as Kurt put that car in places on the racetrack. He's involved in what's going on.
In the middle of the longest ever green flag run at Kentucky, 95 laps, which is pretty impressive considering how tough this track is.
Very tough racetrack, and they go this caution-free for so long with the cars jumping up and down and sliding all over the place. Is really a great job by these drivers. I'm really impressed how they're able to hold on to these cars, not losing under these conditions.
Yeah, it's really, really rough, and it seems like the rougher the driver's being shook around the race car, the better he's going. We saw this with Brad Keselowski on the pit stop earlier. They lost the lug nut on that right front tire. Didn't get it on before Brad took off. Had to go to the back of the field.
How about Danica Patrick? She spent much of the night racing between 10th and 15th, but she's holding her own.
Yeah, she's getting pretty racy out there. She's holding her own. She's doing a good job. Another great performance out of Danica. That's what I'm seeing.
Elliott Sadler The points leader coming into the night, but he has struggled. He had 2 tires on the first stop and has been sliding back ever since.
Yeah, that car is definitely not handled. It's got some fundamental problems. You see Ricky Stenhouse, on the other hand, having a great car, slides to the pit road here, locks the tires up. They come around, the Jackman, watch him, he comes over, he falls, he messes his leg up. It's a really slow pit stop. Really hurt Ricky, but now Ricky's starting to recover. He's back up to 8th position right now.
Yeah, that was Jeremy Nealing taken to the Infield Medical Center. Now, what's been very interesting to watch, though, is the leader, Austin Dillon, who currently is ahead of Kurt Busch by 6.5 seconds. He obviously has the good car, the good setup tonight. His teammate, the points leader, Elliott Sadler, the opposite end of the spectrum. He is 11th and 1 lap down, and you can see why. You think it has something to do with their splitter.
Well, I really do think the splitters are much, much different. You see the car on the right-hand side. It's Elliott Sadler's car, and Austin Dillon on 11th teammate. Look how much lower the number 3 car is to the ground, the splitter to the ground that we just illustrated there. Now, I'm telling you, the lower that front end is, the better downforce you make, the faster the car goes. I really believe what's happened is Elliott is trying to be a little too conservative to get over this rough racetrack, and they don't have an aggressive setup enough, and it's really hurting them.
That's the 33 car, the other Childress car. Jamie, what's up?
And he's pitting a little bit earlier than planned. He's a little loose, so they're making an air pressure adjustment. He wants to take some air out. You see him working on the left-hand side there for Kevin Harvick, the first taker on pit road, guys.
Yeah, Jamie, that's about 6 laps sooner than I thought we would see Harvick on the pit lane for this round. So Kevin, though, was slipping further and further behind Austin Dillon and Kurt Busch.
Yeah, he probably wants to make an adjustment. This track has been changing. It's getting cooler and cooler out.
This was a lap before Kevin pitted. Wow.
You see Brad Sweet getting really loose in front of Kevin.
Yeah.
A lot of guys having a lot of trouble out there. And this is what, what happens. This track cools down. It changes. It gets faster. It's, you don't exactly know where your car is going to go, so you just got to adjust on the fly.
Cole Witt, he made an early stop the last round of green flag stop.
Now, Austin Dillon is putting a lot of cars a lap down here. He's actually getting kind of close up there to Stenhouse and some other guys that seemed like they could keep up with them earlier in the race.
I just want to mention this because as this cycle of pit stops comes, watch that lap counter. Last year, Brad Keselowski ran the final 66 laps on a tank of fuel to score the win.
With 69 to go right now.
We're getting to that point. These guys all coming in the next 5 laps or so. It could be right on the bubble if we don't see the caution between now and the end. We'll see. Denny Hamlin still chugging along, Doc.
Yeah, and Matt Lucas, Denny Hamlin's crew chief, has made a deal, I believe, to help out a Ford, the 6th car of Ricky Stenhouse that lost their Jackman. Let's find out from Matt what they're going to do. Matt, what's going on? How are you going to help the 6?
I guess this Jackman got hurt a little while ago. We're running, our motor's not running right now, so we're just going to loan him ours and let him try to get through the night.
All right, they're going to loan him a Jackman. Toyota going to Ford to help out, guys.
That's pretty cool. Matt Lucas was the engineer on my 60 car for a while. He's a great guy, and that's pretty awesome. That's the camaraderie you see down there on pit road. Right now, Mike Kelly's going, "You sure, Matt?
Yeah.
You sure?" He said, "Yeah, don't worry about it, Mike."
We'll do it.
Coming from an unexpected spot, perhaps a competitor, but sportsmanship in play there from Joe Gibbs Racing and Matt Lucas.
Well, they're just limping along with this 18, just trying to get it to the finish. They don't really need a fast pit stop just to keep it going.
Well, yeah, that's frustrating. We were just talking. I bet Denny's really excited about the fact that he ran this nationwide race. He's been at 100-something degree heat. He's been in that race car all day, and now he's out there just having to run around and
not fun.
No, it's not fun at all. That's really frustrating, especially as well as he's running.
And he's about to not be running around anymore. Oh, look out!
That horse is headed for the
lead. Bring a caution out.
Hold your line. Hold your line. Got one coming inside. Got one coming inside. 2 more coming hard. Clear down. Clear down.
Man, that was wild. I guess something.
Well, he probably felt something break and maybe tried to make a move to get it to the bottom.
NASCAR checking with its spotters around the racetrack.
I'm watching Joe Balish next to us here, see if they're going to throw a caution. Looks like they're going to let this thing go.
Turn 2 is clear, came the report from the spotter in turn 2.
Denny did a really good job of saving that thing. That's no fun when something like that
snapped, didn't it?
So now what's happening is every crew chief that was getting ready to call his guy into pit road has left him out there, if they can, for a couple of laps, waiting and monitoring NASCAR's race control radio to see if they were going to throw a yellow or not.
You can see the oil on the right rear of his of that car.
Doc?
Well, they've been discussing back and forth with Denny Hamlin what he thought it was. That the vibration in the engine and the mist just got worse and worse. The speculation was that it was a valve train issue. And as much as Denny tried to slow down, Carl, you know there's not much you can do as a driver to sit there and hope and pray. And apparently just gave up the ghost and decided to come on in and park it. Jamie, Kurt Busch.
And Kurt Busch in his pit box saying the longer the run, the better the car gets. Track bar adjustment down, filled it up with Sunoco fuel and 4 tires for Kurt Busch.
All right, Jamie, so now we watch for Austin Dillon to pit, and we see how Kurt blends back up and Kevin Harvick with Austin Dillon after the pit stops if they stay under green.
There's a couple of cars that I'm looking at that will possibly challenge Austin Dillon. That's that 54 and the 22 of Brad Keselowski. Remember, he had a penalty earlier, and now he's starting to make his way back to the front. Austin's going to need to probably make an adjustment on his car to be able to maintain the advantage he's had all night.
Yeah, you hear Kurt Busch saying that his car is good on a long run. Mike Beam and those guys are smart. That car will be fast at the end, especially if this were to go green. But, Austin's still in that position. It's so hard as a young guy. He's been leading this whole race. He started on the pole. It's hard to have the confidence or the, to say, hey, yeah, we're leading and everything, but let's keep adjusting it because you're out there leading, you're doing well, and sometimes you can get behind it. It doesn't look like they've done that. They've managed this race very well.
Sam Hornish in, Dave.
And before this round of stop start, he was running in the 5th position. Sam really had wished they'd done a little bit more to solve the loose problem in his race car. It's still way free in. They'll go down a round and a half of the left rear wedge. They're going to reverse the last air pressure adjustment they made on the car. Try to get it more able to hustle for Sam later in the race.
Brad Keselowski hits the pit lane. Austin Dillon continues on by.
Now Austin Dillon's going to use this big lead and stay out longer. Dave, tell us about that 22 car.
Well, Carl, off the corner, Brad wants a little bit of help. He says that the ride quality is real bad. I'm not sure they can help that, but needs to turn a little bit more into the corner and maybe a little bit of help off the corner. So they're going to make a track bar adjustment and air pressure adjustment. Air out of the right rear. They'll go down on that track bar. 4 tire change for Keselowski.
And your leader slows in turn number 4. Austin Dillon's going to stop with what will be 59 laps to go in this race.
Now he stayed out because he had that big lead, so now he's going to have more fuel than anyone. He can be more aggressive. He doesn't have to worry about green-white checkers. And I think that's a smart move. Use up a little bit of that lead, stay out, and now come down here and get the tires, have better tires than everyone else at the end.
Don't get a speeding penalty here.
Oh, man. No. Yeah, don't do, you don't want to have that mistake now that costs you.
Okay, Jamie.
And who would have thought? You see the number 3 of Austin Dillon in his pit box, and meanwhile, he is the point leader. Elliott Sadler, his teammate, has given up the lead. He's 1 lap down. He too is pitted now as they continue to work on Austin Dillon's car. Wiping the front grill, 4 tires, they filled it up. Meanwhile, Elliott Sadler, his car is loose, but there's a caution on the track, and the 6 is in his pit box, Alan.
The 6 is in his pit box, but he's only got to make it to the start-finish line before the leader comes around, so it'll be interesting to see if he stays on the lead lap. Now, these guys that just pitted, if they are on the lead lap, they're in the best spot. They've got fresh tires, no laps on these tires.
Michael Annett is the leader in the 43. Caution because Mike Wallace has bounced the right side of his 0-1 car off the wall.
Yeah, he's hit it hard, too. This came at a really bad spot during this cycle of green flag stops.
Here's a look at what happened. Ooh, contact there from Kurt Busch.
What's a crush panel for if you don't crush it? Man, he hit him pretty well there. Got him loose, and that's a really bad spot. You already got the car arcing out as hard as you can to go into the wall. And
that brings the net around with just a few cars on the lead lap. Austin Dillon stayed on the lead lap as well as Kurt Busch.
But there'll be a pile of guys in position to get the wave around because they just pitted on the green, right? So
I'm glad somebody else is confused by that.
Well, it kind of comes into play. We'll see when Annett makes his pit stop and Allgaier, looks like Brian Scott. they make their pit stop, then you'll see everybody that's then in front of the then leader, which looks like will be Austin Dillon, will be able to go back around the track.
So it looks like, they'll probably be about 10 cars on the lead lap, something like that.
Yep.
That's not good. They're over there counting laps that they can go.
Yeah.
These cautions will help, though.
You know, if you're thinking you're coming up short on fuel and you're one of the guys that needs the wave around, you can't pit and still take the wave around, so you got to stay out and hope for another yellow.
Yeah, but Kurt Busch is one of the cars on the lead lap right now. So they could, and they're just with so few, and they are close on fuel. I would just come in and top it off.
Right. To recap here, Austin Dillon, he's led the whole race, essentially. He got caught on pit road there. Annett took advantage of this. He's leading, and it looks like Annett is pitting now.
Yep. Michael Annett pits from the lead. Allgaier, Brian Scott coming in with him. Vince?
Brian Scott on a bit of a roll, 3 straight top 10s for the first time in his career, comes to the pits in 3rd position, says the car is just too loose into the corner, wrecking loose. In fact, they're going to go down a round and a half on the right rear, 4 tires, air pressure adjustment, and Sunoco fuel. Doc?
A career best run for Michael Annett. He's never had a top 5. Came in as the leader, 1 round out, a little bit tight on exit. He is down and away, 4 tires, Sunoco fuel. Dave.
The good news for Justin Allgaier as he gets Sunoco fuel and a track bar adjustment is that he hits some debris, but there doesn't appear to be damage on the front. It looks pretty clean. They'll make a 4-tire change. The car was tight and it had no grip anywhere, according to the driver.
And Kurt Busch also on and off the pit lane under this caution flag. Just when you think the picture's clear.
Yeah, we'll see about 23 wave rounds when we go green.
We'll get it cleared up when we come back from break. We'll explain to you guys what's going on. We'll figure it out.
Still under caution in the Feed the Children 300 at Kentucky Speedway. Make sure to go to NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. Just the second caution of this race is out with Austin Dillon, still the leader. He's dominated most of the night. ESPN's coverage of Major League Baseball continues Sunday and Monday. First, Sunday, David Wright and the Mets take a West Coast trip to L.A., where they face Clayton Kershaw and the NL West leading Dodgers at 8. Then Monday night at 7, a battle for position within the AL East. Curtis Granderson and the Yankees take on B.J. Upton and the Rays. Sports Center scene in New York and Tampa. Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. Monday Night Baseball presented by USAA. Watch everybody from that pace car. Keep watching. Make note of all those cars. All of them. Keep watching. Keep going.
Wait for
Keep
it.
going. We're waiting for the 3. There. All those cars between the pace car and the leader, Austin Dillon, are going to take a wave around in a minute, but it's only going to get 3 of them back on the lead lap. Tell you about those. Get ready for the restart in just a minute at Kentucky Speedway. Thank you. Doubled up for the restart. The cars that took the wave around back onto the lead lap. Sam Hornish Jr., Brad Keselowski, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
We start up there with that 3. We can outdrive them. Just got to get by some of these guys and get another restart. We should be good. 10-4, rubber duck. Lights are on. Show's about to begin.
Yes, it is.
That's what I'm talking about. Mike Kelly, Ricky Stenhouse ready to go racing.
51 to go. Kevin Harvick got the free pass. He's also on the lead lap. Kurt Busch, 3 deep for the lead.
Woo, Kurt drove it in there. Austin's been really fast on the top on these restarts. Looks like Kurt might be able to settle into second if he can get by Allgaier here. Fresh tires right now, low tire pressures. These cars are bouncing all over the place. It's really tough on these restarts.
31 Allgaier hanging on to second, pressured by Kurt Busch. Michael Annett there as well. The other lead lap cars, Brian Scott, Kevin Harvick, Sam Hornish, Brad Keselowski, Ricky Stenhouse, 9 of them.
And what you saw right there is Kurt said, I know I can't be messing around underneath him. He drove it in the corner a mile, risked it, got by Allgaier, and now he'll set sail. Try to catch Austin Dillon. It'll be interesting to see if Kurt and Mike Beam have got that car working.
That 3 car's been good in the short runs. 54's been pretty good on the long runs. Got a little tight right there, though.
And you heard Ricky Stenhouse before this thing started. He said, if I can just get up there and we get another caution and start with that 3, I know I can beat him. So Ricky's got a lot of confidence right now in that 6 car.
Sound like he's having to pedal a little bit off the corner.
Yeah, it's they are racing.
James Busher 30, not on the lead lap. 99, Kenny Wallace, not on the lead lap. Wallace and Busher actually racing for 13th and 14th, a lap down.
And that's what's frustrating. Ricky is going, guys, you're not on the lead lap, move out of the way. But they're racing for 13 and 14th. That's how many guys Austin Dillon's got put a lap down. So it's really hard for those guys to give these lead lap cars space.
Kevin Harvick to 4th, around Michael Annett. 33 car, again, just got the free pass at that last caution.
And we saw people making adjustments on that car. Even the 3 car, Austin Dillon, he took a round out of the right rear. Everybody seems to be a little bit loose. So, you know, they were doing what we said. We were worried that he wouldn't adjust on that race car, but they're still adjusting on the race car, and it looks like it's paying off.
And he's already pulled a 1.7 second lead over Kurt Busch.
Remember, Harvick made the early move to pit road under that last round of green flag stops.
You see Allgaier there, he was one of the beneficiaries of that caution coming out. He stayed out while the others were making those green flag stops.
Another one of the stories on the night, Elliott Sadler. Championship leader starting the night. A lap down. Just took 11th place away from Brad Sweet. Struggling with the handling on this car. But as more cars have kind of fallen out of the hunt, if you will, Sadler is hanging in and minimizing the championship damage.
Battle for 6th right here as Sam Hornish is working on Brian Scott driving into turn 3. The most treacherous part of the track when the car is loose, and it looks like he just was able to drive right by him.
Brian Scott on a very solid, steady run of performances lately after struggling to start the season, having a lot of problems and a lot of problems that found him. Scott has got 3 straight top 10 results. 3rd at Dover, 9th at Michigan, 7th at Road America last week. Steadied the ship.
And Brian, I saw him down at Michigan in the Cup garage, walking around talking to people, looking at cars, you know, asking people about the race cars and the racetrack. He's really put in a lot of effort into his run this year, that 11 car.
3rd place here.
Now Harvick does he have older tires? He stopped earlier and then stayed out. Is that correct?
No, he was able to pit under this caution because he was the free pass car.
He got the free pass.
He didn't have to stay out for the waiver round. Got 156 laps in the book tonight. Austin Dillon has led all but 8 of them. And he's gone right now here in Kentucky.
A champion will be crowned as Euro 2012 comes to an end Sunday on ESPN. Spain attempts to repeat as champions when they take on Italy in the final. It's Spain-Italy Sunday at 2:30 Eastern on ESPN, ESPN3, and watch ESPN. Back at Kentucky, we are 162 laps in, and if you're looking for the class of the field, you have found him right there in the 3 car. It is Austin Dillon, who has led this evening 154 laps. It's a good sign for a rookie because rookies like to win here. Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, David Gilliland all got their first Nationwide Series wins in this series at this track.
So I don't know why that is. I don't know why that happens, but yeah, you're right. But I'll tell you, tonight, I am really impressed with Austin Dillon. I'm impressed with the way he's driving the car, but I'm also real impressed with his car. A lot of times, Brad, when you get a car and the track conditions change as much as it's done here, 105 today, now it's nighttime, now it's down to 70s. This car has ate up all the different track condition changes. It just ate them up and it's accepted them. And when you get a car that's set up that good, it can understand all these different changing track conditions, man, that's a good car to drive, no doubt about that. He's got that tonight. But you got to be able to drive it. He's doing a good job of that.
Without question. He's obviously got the piece, but he is absolutely willing that thing. And he has consistently been the fastest car on the racetrack, no matter what the race conditions are. And we saw on those restarts him actually pulling away from Kurt Busch, who was driving the wheels off that race car, trying to keep up with him. He is the class of the field.
There's no doubt about that. But one thing I'm concerned about right now is a little bit of trash on the grill of Austin Dillon's car. That's going to create the car to overheat a little bit. That's going to let it get more downforce in the front. Let's see how it got on the car. This little wrapper sticks to it. That's the way it happens. But now what he's going to have to do, he's going to have to get up behind the car and really get close to his bumper to blow that off. Now how it's going to affect the car right now, it's going to overheat just a little bit, but it's going to create more downforce in the front of the car. which sometimes makes the car handle better and run faster. So, you know, hot dog.
Bad news for everybody.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, little hot dog wrapper, that's not a bad thing every now and then, as long as the motor's running cool.
35 to go. Austin Dillon looking for his first win in this series. And oh, by the way, if he would win and things stay the same, Dave, he'd also leave the night the points leader.
And that is one of the very big goals they have for this season. It'll be the first time, obviously, that he's led the Nationwide Series points. Now, as for that wrapper on the front grille, I just checked with crew chief Danny Stockman. He says nothing wrong with that there. And Austin has not complained on the radio either about the handling or the temperature of the motor at this point or the fluids therein. So, therefore, it doesn't appear to be a big problem right now. Neither is the fuel situation. Danny Stockman saying they can go to the end. Nicole?
Austin Dillon out front for 159 laps this evening. Currently has a 4-second lead. Can he follow in the footsteps of the last rookie to win in the Nationwide Series? That would have been 2007 in Juan Pablo Montoya. We'll find out in 33 laps.
The number 3 means so much to so many. Some say it belongs to Junior Johnson. Most say it belongs to Dale. To Austin Dillon, it belongs to all of the above. But above them all, it belongs to Pop Pop.
Austin Dillon's Pop Pop, Grandpa Richard Childress, proudly watching as his grandson races in pursuit of his first NASCAR Nationwide Series win. He's dominated the race tonight. He's 26 laps away from the checkered flag. Andy, you were a championship-winning crew chief for RC. I talked to Richard about this very thing today in the Nationwide Garage area, what it means to him to have his grandsons coming up through racing and to carry on the family legacy.
I think it's just really energized Richard to be even more engaged in this sport. You know, he's accomplished almost everything that you can imagine, from championships, winning races, and doing it with Dale Earnhardt Sr. has to be the pinnacle of it all. I asked him one time, I said, why do you keep doing it? He says, because I love it. And now with Austin and Ty, his grandson, doing it at such a high level, I think it's going to keep him doing it for a lot longer.
Left of the screen, that is Max Pappas, who ran the Nationwide race for Richard Childress at Road America last weekend. Max has been serving as a fitness and driving coach for Austin Dillon, working with him on his conditioning. I talked with Max at length about Austin last weekend at Road America. He said he's doing what I asked him to do. He's working hard. He's going to be a good driver.
Yeah, Max is a very good competitor. He's a very fit guy as well. He understands the fitness side of the sport, the mental aspects of the sport, and I think he's a great coach for Austin.
That piece of paper looks like it's almost folded itself up on the grill of that 3 car as well, and maybe not carrying quite as wide a profile as it did a minute ago.
I was saying, the way his night's been going, that paper's probably just what he needed right then. No big deal. Probably just, you know, a little more downforce. Car's working better. Kurt Busch, we heard him earlier in the break. He's following Austin. He's doing his best. He's back there 4.7 seconds as we watch Austin. And Kurt's been struggling with a loose race car still. Mike Beam says, hey, man, you know, we watch Austin there on the left of the screen. Kurt's back there. Jamie's got a little bit more about Kurt.
Yeah, and Kurt is just talking on the radio right now, and he's just saying, I'm trying everything, you guys. We're just still way too loose. And they actually, on that last round of stops, they were able to get a track bar adjustment and a wedge adjustment in to try to tighten up the car. So we thought he would go farther forward, but he hasn't. It stayed loose, and that's the problem, why he's fallen back a little bit behind the 3.
One thing we've seen on these runs, though, the longer it goes, the better the 54 seems to be against the 3 of Austin Dillon. So I'm not sure that looseness is hurting him at the end of these runs.
Brian Scott, one of the just 9 cars on the lead lap until just now, Vince.
Well, and it's a real heartbreaker, too, because as you see, the hood is upset. The motor felt like it was going sour, so certainly going to be the end of his night tonight. But a very frustrating event, as he had 3 straight top 3s coming into the race and had another strong one going tonight, AB.
Denny Hamlin is Joe Gibbs' teammate to the garage earlier with engine problems as well. Austin Dillon out in front by 5.7 seconds, 16 laps away from his first NASCAR Nationwide Series win. He has dominated tonight. Most laps led by a driver here to win, Carl Edwards. ironically enough, sitting between Andy and I tonight in the booth. Led 150 laps in winning here in 2005. He's topped your mark tonight.
Yeah, what was Austin doing in 2005, man? That's he's come a long ways. The guy is just doing an amazing job. He's led this race the whole night. He's controlled these restarts.
And check this out. First Nationwide Series win, most dominant performance ever. Austin won't get that mark tonight. Dale Jarrett led all 150 laps in winning in Rougemont, North Carolina back in August of 1986. Austin, 8 laps tonight have been led by other people.
But I don't know if Austin, I don't know if Dale Jarrett had, Cup regulars on his heels following him like Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick. No offense, Dale, you're probably at home watching, but Austin is doing an amazing job here tonight. This is a tough racetrack, you guys. We're watching Kurt Busch here. We talked about he is one of the drivingest race car drivers out there, and he's struggling to keep up with Austin.
It's Kurt Busch second, looking back for Kevin Harvick.
And this is Guy Harvick I thought would be the dominant driver tonight. Childress cars, it's not surprising to see him out here running like they are when you see Dillon, putting a whooping on the field. But I expected it to be Harvick.
Yeah, and Annette is having a heck of a night tonight, right behind Harvick in that 43 Pilot Ford. He's been doing a great job tonight.
He could get his first ever top 5 finish in the Nationwide Series if he holds that spot tonight. Michael has finished 6th 3 different times, never had a top 5. In line for it if he can hang on. And he's got a pretty good gap of about 4 seconds on Justin Allgaier, who's running in 5th, and Sam Hornish Jr., who's running in 6th.
Allgaier also got the break when they had that caution that flew right in the middle of the green flag pit stop sequence, and so did Annette. So both of those guys are making the most of that break they got.
Yeah, we're coming up on 12 laps to go here as we're watching Sam Hornish, and right now I got to be thinking the nerves are so high for Austin Dillon.
Well, think back to your first. You got wins in Atlanta in a magical weekend, right? You won the Nationwide race Saturday, the Cup race Sunday, back to back. What was it like in those final 10 laps?
It's so huge. The stress level so high. My first Nationwide win was at Atlanta. Tony Stewart was second. It's a lot like the position Austin's in right now. He's got Kurt back there in second. I knew if I had a restart, if there was a caution, if anything happened, if I made a mistake, Tony was going to pounce. And right now, Austin's doing a great job. But I guarantee you his heart rate is through the roof. He's got to be thinking of how great this night could be for him.
Championship picture, of course, so close coming into this with Stenhouse running back in 8th, Hornish running in 6th, and Elliott Sadler running in 11th. Austin Dillon going to take the championship lead if things stay as they are over these final 10 laps.
I'm surprised that 6-car and Brad Keselowski both have really not finished this race off any better. I thought this run here they would show some strength.
Well, with that long green flag runs and them having that trouble in the pits, with Stenhouse having that trouble earlier on, if the folks at home didn't see it, Stenhouse had trouble in the pits, really cost them almost an entire lap, and they've never been able to recover from that.
Cole Witt was in 10th position, had to hit the pit lane. Cole carrying the NASCAR Unites logo on his car. NASCAR's campaign to support military families throughout these summer months. The red, white, and blue paint scheme on the car.
He was counting on getting a caution flag. He was one of the cars that took a wave around, and he made that early green flag stop, so he didn't have quite enough fuel to finish. With 9 to go here, he had to duck in and get a little fuel.
This is what we've seen all night. Austin Dillon is out front in control, getting ready to put another lap on Danica Patrick. This would make her 2 laps down. She's in 14th position though, so having a great night. It's a testament to how well Austin's been running tonight, putting the 14th place car 2 laps down.
Yeah, I mean there's only 8 cars on the lead lap. That's how fast that 3-car has been.
Glad he's not running that thing tomorrow night in the Cup race. I don't think it'll be too long before we see him in the Cup races though.
You know, it's funny, I was doing a radio interview this morning, and I was asked who I thought, on the heels of the Stenhouse announcement, who I thought the next driver to elevate from the Nationwide Series to Sprint Cup full-time would be. I said Austin Dillon. I said for a couple of reasons. One, opportunity. Look, he's on the track for that if he continues to show the ability.
Yeah, I know somebody that has some Cup cars.
He's got some cars and got a spot for him in the roster. But I said the one thing I need to see from Austin before I'll tell you he's on the way is he needs to win. I said that was the pattern. I know.
We're doing our best to jinx his whole night here. He's got the points lead. He's got the win coming, and we got to be careful here. We don't want to ruin it for him.
an eye out on the
oil pressure. It's around 70.
54 short,
between 8 and 9.
That's not good. I wonder if that's the same batch of engines. They might have had some bad parts or something, but 54 car complaining about his oil pressure.
Yeah, I don't think that the
different engine suppliers. Yes.
Different engine suppliers.
Yeah, I don't think they're the same one.
The Joe Gibbs cars get their engines for the Nationwide Series from Joe Gibbs Racing still, and 54 Kyle Busch Motorsports does not. What's up, Jamie?
Well, they're saying they just lost a cylinder. After all that, 5 to go, lost a cylinder, no oil pressure right now for Kurt Busch, who's just going to hang on now and ride around.
One of the
Seems
things
awfully coincidental to me. So
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, it is. I think it is connected. The one thing that the Toyotas have struggled with has been some inner valve spring issues on the Cup side as well. I don't know if that's now filtered its way over onto the Nationwide Series engines.
And we'll have to wait to find out. But whenever we've had trouble like this with our engines, it's always been a batch of parts, and that's tough. I don't know if they share any parts or if this is just coincidence.
You will see here and there some cars that took the wave around at that last caution have to dive in for a splash of fuel because they weren't able to come in under the yellow flag and top off. Brad Sweet and Mike Bliss just did so. But now we're 3 laps, ironically enough,
3 laps
away from victory for car 3.
And guys, we talked about this at the beginning of the show. This track is so difficult. It has so many bumps. The banking's different in different places. We wonder, could a guy like Austin Dillon dominate this race and be able to make adjustments from day to night, from high temps to low temps, to deal with the traffic? And he's been able to do it all night.
You see Richard Childress right there, the grandfather. I wonder what Mike Dillon's thinking.
He keeps getting higher and higher. He was standing down there, and now he's up on that. Pretty soon he'll be climbing that flagpole to watch us.
I'm just going to ask you, who do you think's more nervous? Dad, granddad, or driver?
I'd almost bet that Richard is.
Coming to the white flag next time.
Okay, bud, you will be coming to the white here. Just cruise, bud. No issues.
9 seconds ahead of second place.
Which is still Kurt Busch.
So many emotions going on in that race car right now.
White flag, white flag. That's just right behind that 30. Just
No
right behind
green-white checker to worry about. Final lap for Austin Dillon. Earlier we saw the focus in the eyes, the concentration with this fast race car around this difficult track. He's going to bring it home.
Man, he has just done a great job tonight. Got one more corner to navigate. It's never over until it's over.
Dominant. And the first Nationwide Series win, car 3 to the checkered flag. Austin Dillon is a Nationwide Series race winner.
Yeah! That's what I'm talking about, bud. That's what's called dominate. That's the jacket, baby! Woo! Yeah! Awesome, guys. Good job.
Richard Childress Racing.
Right there, buddy. You're the man.
And Richard Childress had retired the number 3 after the passing of Dale Earnhardt. Talked about what number they were going to run.
You are.
This is big.
Look at this.
This is big, I'm telling you.
Yeah, to be able to win your first race like this at a tough racetrack with Cup drivers behind you, take over the points lead, this is a huge night for Austin Dillon.
Talked about what number they were going to run for Austin when he came out in NASCAR's National Touring Series in the Camping World Truck Series. Threw out some different varieties, and Austin said, but Pop, I want to use number 3. And, well, that was Dale's number, and Austin said, no, that was your number.
And it was his number 4.
The team to meet me in the grass. Let's do a slide together, all of you.
Another grand slide.
I wonder if he was going to do that. That's far more dangerous than some of the other things guys do.
Remember when Austin won his first Camping World Truck Series race, kind of did a belly flop in the grass. It didn't look the most graceful.
Yes, it wasn't. he had almost as much grip on that slide as he did with that number 3 car tonight. That's pretty cool.
Don't hurt that engine.
He's going to burn that thing down.
Danny Sockman, his crew chief, has been with Austin.
They make a good team.
Through the Truck Series, the champions there. moved
so
up
much
together.
for Danny Stockman. You can see how much it means to him.
He's going to do it.
Outstanding. Doc?
With Danny Stockman, who overcome with emotion a moment ago. I could see your eyes filling up with water. What does this mean to you to give the kid his first nationwide win?
I believe it's been 26 races, and it's just really emotional. I mean, this is what we do it for. Richard and Mike believed in me 3 years ago to come take this kid to a new level, and I feel like we can do it. And us together, we're just perfect. And it's taken us some time here to get used to these race cars and try to figure everything out. And the communication's getting a lot better. And I just got to thank everybody, this whole team, RCR, ECR, Chevrolet, Bass Pro Shops, Advocare, and last but not least, thank the Lord, man. This is just unbelievable.
Hey, congratulations. Go get that kid a hug.
Thank you.
Danny Stockman, he gave him his first win as a rookie 2 years ago in the Truck Series, and tonight he takes him to victory lane in the Nationwide Series. Alan?
Terrific stuff, Doc. Well, as Austin begins to roll toward victory lane, where he'll meet up with everybody else. Yeah, don't leave that helmet on top of the car. He's going to get a trophy. He's going to get to celebrate. Well, what was it we heard on the radio a minute ago? Pop saying Dale would have been proud of that.
And he would have.
Well, they started early in these days, learning how to race. When you have a passion for the sport from those early days with go-karts, still carrying Pop's number. Tonight, Richard Childress, Mike Dillon have seen grandson and son Austin Dillon become a NASCAR Nationwide Series winner in a dominating performance here at Kentucky Speedway. Number 3 back in victory lane, and a family celebration it is.
Started the night talking about whether or not Austin Dillon would take over the Nationwide Series championship. He did that, but not only that, you dominated this race and won. Congratulations.
Thank you, man. I want to start out with thanking the sponsors, Bass Pro Shops, Advocare, and American Ethanol. You know, my grandfather's always stressed about having sponsorship, and we were able to get it this year, and I'm really proud to get these guys in victory lane. This is awesome. This is what we wanted. That was a domination, man. That was awesome. The car was great. Thank Danny Stockman. These guys work hard. It's so much fun to come to the track with a group of racers, and that's what they are. My spotter, Andy Houston, did a great job keeping me calm the whole race. I want to thank God. He's number one, and thank you for everything these guys have done for me, and I'm just very excited. My brother's back at home. I want to say, hey, bro, good job last night, and we're going to party in welcome North Carolina.
Was there ever any doubt? Because it looked so smooth. The crew was on. Danny kept up with the track with the adjustments. It just looked so good.
He did. You know, the last stop, I was loose the whole race. I just get looser and looser. I was really driving straight as I could, not to slit the tires. And I was kind of backsteered the whole race. But that last adjustment, he got me tight enough to fire off really good. And we knew Kurt was good, but our car was just stronger.
This 3 car has been in victory lane a lot. Not this one, but the number and the paint scheme. What does it mean to you to put it back in victory lane?
It's just awesome for all these fans that support me, and I'm really enjoying driving this number 3. You know, my grandfather's allowed me to do it, and I can't thank him enough, and just want to thank all the fans that give us support each and every weekend.
He talked about the fans, the sponsors. I think they'll all stick with him after a run like this. Austin Dillon, his first Nationwide Series win here at Kentucky.
22 years old. Grew up in racing, no other way to say it. It's all he's known, pretty much. Polite young man, really fine young man. His dad, Mike Dillon, there in the white shirt, next to granddad, Richard Childress.
They just did a great job tonight. That's just a great race all around.
Gotta love a first-time winner, and we've seen one tonight here at Kentucky. It's Austin Dillon, last year's NASCAR Camping World Truck Series champion, now in the Nationwide Series point lead.
NASCAR Nationwide Series at Kentucky is brought to you by Carfax. Just say, "Show me the Carfax." Ask your dealer or go to Carfax.com. And Viagra.
What a night here at Kentucky Speedway as Austin Dillon celebrates his first NASCAR Nationwide Series victory and also in the process takes over the lead in the championship standings after race number 15 of 33. There are the new numbers after tonight. 2 points to Elliott Sadler, 23 back to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Richard Childress in victory lane with our Dave Burns.
And he's been enjoying the photos and the champagne spray, but this is your grandkid. What's it like to see him win at this track in this race?
I mean, it's great. You know, I'm so proud to see him. They put on a great run tonight, him and that whole 3 team, and Johnny Morris sponsored him. You know, without Johnny Morris helping getting him and Ty to the level they are, I don't know that we could have done it. So we owe Johnny a lot, and to win it tonight is great. And, you know, I just have to thank the Lord. Everything was great tonight. It's really a good run for everybody, and couldn't be more prouder, you know, especially your grandson. Like, that's really cool.
Of all the victories for you in the car numbered 3, where does this one stack up?
Well, it's right up there with the top of them. You know, I said on the radio to him there, I said, Dale would be proud tonight. You know, I know he would.
And we believe he is. And watching this from above, and it's been a good night for RC. 33 ran good as well, and Kevin Harvick waiting to get his turn to congratulate young Austin here in victory lane, Alan.
Yeah, Dave, Kevin finished in 3rd position, and now Austin becoming the 3rd first-time winner this season in the Nationwide Series. James Buescher, Nelson Piquet Jr., now Austin Dillon. So as we follow the race winner to the finish, a look back now at those who chased him most closely to the checkered flag. Only 8 cars on the lead lap. Sorry, Andy.
Yeah, Kurt Busch just kind of limped home for second, and he had a good enough lead over Kevin Harvick with that engine on 7-cylinder.
Top 5 for Michael Annett.
Very good run for Michael Annett. I still cannot, it's hard to overstate how great of a race this was for Austin and his whole crew. Stockman and all those guys, they really adjusted well to this racetrack. It is a tough place. You're going to see it. You saw it all night tonight. You're going to see it tomorrow in the Cup race. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the guys Austin beat tonight in this race will be fighting for the win tomorrow in the Cup race. So just a great night, a great performance.
Well, let's talk to some of the guys who chased Austin to the finish line tonight. Here's Jamie.
Well, Kurt Busch brings it home second, a hard-fought second, and the joke was finally a Busch brought it home without a scratch on it. But how much of a handful was it from start to finish?
It was a good battle. You know, we missed it early on with just being too loose. We were loose in qualifying, but Mike Beam, his experience, his leadership brought it back underneath me. And my first run here at Kentucky, I didn't know what to expect. So, yeah, the Monster Energy car was dialed in at the end, and yet we were still in the wrong zip code. Austin Dillon was fast tonight, and congratulations to him and Richard Childress. They were money. I mean, that's what it is in this game, and you got to hit that car perfect, and we weren't perfect tonight.
Well, we saw 2 Joe Gibbs Racing cars have engine issues. Of course, you guys are a Triad motor, and you lost a cylinder right at the end. Did you have any indication, and what did you feel there with 5 to go?
Yeah, it just felt like somebody pulled the handbrake, and it was a different noise inside the car. But, you know, those guys do a good job for us. Toyota has been a big supporter of Kyle and this team, and it's just amazing how far we've come, and we're putting ourselves in position to win. And so thanks to Monster, a bunch of their associates every week are with us, Kroger and those guys. I mean, we have a lot of distributors helping get Monster out there. So these guys are sweet, man. It's awesome to get us a podium finish for those guys.
All right, Kurt Busch brings it home second. Kyle Busch will be back in the car next week at Daytona.
Well, Ricky Stenhouse had a good car. Looked like, Ricky, you had a car that maybe could have beaten anybody tonight, but there was an issue on pit road. What happened?
Yeah, it looked like we went the wrong way on adjustments from what Mike was wanting to do. So I didn't know that till after the race. Our Sam's Club Mustang was a second-place car there for a while and running down Austin, and then after we kept going backwards on adjustments, can't make your car better. So, you know, it's great racing out here in the Nationwide Series. Congratulations to Austin. The first win's always exciting. And just got to thank Nationwide Insurance, everybody on this Roush Fenway team. They work really hard. We're just going to have to start getting better on pit road there. That's where we struggle tonight.
What happened when you were coming in? Was there something on pit road when you hit? We saw the car slide.
Coming around, I guess the 40 car was in the box for, I don't know, 3 or 4 laps, and Mike thought he was going to be gone. Saw him set the left side down, so I kind of checked up a little bit, thinking he was going to go, and then by the time I peeled in the pit box, it was a little late, and just kind of ran in there a little bit deep and a little sideways there. So that's what happened getting in the box. Just a tough night for us. I think we had a car that could have made up some points tonight.
Ricky Stenhouse battles back for a top 10 finish.
Well, Kevin Harvick brings it home third, and your average finish here is third, Kevin. But first off, I have to ask you about Austin Dillon. I mean, your boss is his grandfather, and watching this unfold tonight in the 3-car.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's great for everybody at RCR. Austin works hard to do what he has to do to try to make himself better week in and week out, and to see it pay off for him is what it's all about. So he's going to be able to do a lot in this sport.
Now, this was the first of 3 races for you, and I have to ask, with your wife being due in like 2.5, 3 weeks, why the decision to do double duty? I know it's stressful on her.
Well, we make those decisions, about this time of year for next year. So, we got to get our cars running better. We ran terrible tonight. Just got to thank everybody from Hunt Brothers for everything they do for us, and we just got to do a better job.
All right, Kevin Harvick brings it home third.
And another solid night for Sam Hornish Jr. His 3rd straight top 10, comes home 6th tonight. We talked before the race about what you feel like you guys need to do to be a championship contender. You put another good result together tonight. How was the evening?
Yeah, Vince, we're just piecing together the best that we can right now. We don't feel like we've got cars that we can win races right now, but we can run in the top 10, run in the top 5. So we need to be smart about the things that we do. The Worth Dodge was very good early on in the run, but we just built too free throughout the run. So we didn't think that there was going to be this much green flag running, so we didn't get an opportunity to work on the car as much as we'd like to. But all in all, feel very blessed that we got a little bit of a cool front that came in, because it was sure hot earlier. And I, as always, just thankful to be here and have a full-time ride and be out here in Nationwide Insurance for sponsoring the series.
We talked before the race about the fact that coming in 4 straight races, you'd scored more points in the series than any other driver. What's been that one thing that's kind of clicked for you guys? Because obviously something has happened. You're starting to put these good results together.
We seemed like earlier in the year we were running the top 5 and we would have some kind of a problem. We had flat tires or whatever, and it's always towards the end of the race. And I'm just trying to be real smart about what we do out there. Make sure that we keep the car clean, even if we're not good at the early parts of the run. Let people go and just make sure that we've got all 4 wheels, all 4 fenders on it. I feel like if we keep being consistent the way that we are, and we find just a little bit of speed and take out some of our little snags, I mean, we're gonna be close to winning races. We're gonna get top 3s, and we're gonna have opportunities to gain points on the 3 guys that are ahead of us.
Yeah, job well done.
Well, thank you.
Sam Hornish Jr. 6th tonight, AB.
All right, Vince, thanks. And with Carl Edwards and Andy Petrie, and we were talking earlier, Carl, about what those last laps were like before you scored your first win in the Nationwide Series. The aftermath. What's a change for Austin Dillon now, based on your experience? Anything tangible?
Well, the next day after my first Nationwide win, I won my first Cup race. So I think for me personally, it gave me a lot of confidence. It made me realize that I could race with these Cup guys. I could run at this level. And that's something that, no matter how well you run in the Truck Series, you never really know how you're going to stack up until you go out there and get victories in the Nationwide Series. And I think it's a huge day for Austin Dillon and that team.
Yeah, what about Danny Stockman? He gets his first Nationwide Series win. You saw just how emotional he was to get to that next level, too. And it means a lot to a crew member, crew chief like that, making that next big step, and to do it with Austin and get his first win at the same time. I can just see how much it means to him, and he's got a lot of bright days ahead of him.
Parade of congratulations here coming into victory lane. Other drivers, fellow competitors, and so on coming in to shake your hand. I'll bet that's worth almost as much as the trophy.
Yeah, that
not
feels
quite,
good.
Almost.
It feels really good, and I think what you said about the Alan Stockman, and for those guys to come in and both be new in this series, 26 races in, to be winning, be leading the points, it's a huge accomplishment. It is so tough as a driver or a new crew chief, but to have two of them doing it together and to have this success this quickly is amazing.
Yeah, they believe in each other, and I think that's the thing that's going to take them a long way. That chemistry that they have. And Danny Stockman, he works so hard on the cars. I go down and talk to him, and sometimes it's hard to even just get in there to talk to him because he's crunching numbers. He's always working on something, but they've got a lot of wins ahead of them.
Hey, good luck tomorrow, and thanks.
Hey, thank you very much. This was inspiring to be able to come up here and watch that Bass Pro Shops car do well. And I have to say that we're thinking about a friend of mine who passed away, Samantha Morris. She's a great girl, huge race fan. I'm sure she was enjoying the race tonight from a better place, and we're thinking about your family.
All right, Carl Edwards getting ready to go tomorrow and joining us tonight here in the ESPN booth. Lots more post-race coverage to come. Let's go downstairs to Doc.
Danica Patrick comes home just outside the top 10. Danica, a very tough racetrack, a very bumpy place. Tell us about your night.
It was just kind of a really frustrating to sort of quite average night. Just never really felt like we were settled down and really like the car was in the track. It just, no matter what our handling issue was, it was just too much for the car to handle. It was either loose in or tight off, and even for the little bits of time where it was settled down and I had a decent balance, just couldn't drive it very hard. So I don't know. I think we're going to have a think about the setup and just some of the things that we've been trying to see if, you got to try stuff. So we were trying some different stuff, and maybe it's not so good. But at the end of the day, we stayed out there for all of them. As someone reminded me, 198 laps for me, and we finished off the race. But congrats to Austin. It was I envy his first win, but good for him.
Yours is coming. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Danica Patrick, 12th.
Career best fourth-place finish for Michael Annett tonight. Got a nice congratulations from the King as well. That had to feel good. Richard Petty coming down. How good was it tonight?
Yeah, that's really cool. That's probably one of the coolest parts. The window net coming down, and he's the first one in the window. That's awesome. But the car was just really good from last night, this afternoon to tonight. This Pilot Flying J Ford Mustang was fast off the truck and didn't do anything stupid all weekend, so you could keep making adjustments and be confident in them. We watched the truck race last night, knew how hard it was going to be to pass, so we put some things in the car so we can move around, not really be stuck to one lane. And these guys, they deserve top fives, and it's a shame it took this long to get one, but this summer stretch are my favorite racetracks, and we know what it's like to run in the top 10, top 5 all night, and we just need to keep doing it. Can't thank Nationwide Insurance enough for allowing us to do this and getting ready to hopefully make a lot of money off those guys this summer.
Well done.
All right, thank you, Vince.
Michael Annett finishes 4th tonight.
Michael kind of alluding to the Nationwide Insurance Dash for Cash that kicks off here very shortly. Daytona next week, next Friday night for the Nationwide Series, 7 Eastern time, and that's going to be a fun one.
That's the Subway Jalapeno Fresh 250.
250, very good.
That's a good Subway.
Good job.
I'll be having a Subway sandwich watching that race.
He even works the sponsor plug-in on the upcoming race.
Can you get some up to the booth?
I can get some sent up here.
New Hampshire, Chicagoland, Indianapolis. That whole Dash for Cash thing going to add some spice to the pot, and we're getting ready to kick that off here very shortly in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Headline for tomorrow morning based on tonight's race, Austin Dillon. First Nationwide Series win, puts the Richard Childress Racing 3-car back in victory lane. Danny Stockman getting a win as well. They're going to have a big celebration somewhere over these next 24 hours, I guarantee.
Crew chief for Austin Dillon, Danny Stockman, said, "I feel like we can do it." They certainly did it tonight. Austin Dillon, the winner for the first time this season in the Nationwide Series by leading 192 laps. You know what that means? He didn't lead 8. I'd say that's a pretty dominant performance for Austin Dillon.
Pretty strong. Yeah, and realistically, throughout the race, as we watched it unfold, the only guy that I thought that really had something for him was Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He was very, very fast throughout the race. That pit stop, though, and I know we heard Ricky talking about the adjustments on the car. He's upset that they didn't adjust the way he wanted to give him the car he needed at the end of the race. But that mistake where he got wedged in and the crewman hurt his leg, the jackman hurt his leg,
Jeremy
that
Neely
put him so far behind and Austin was so dominant, he was never going to catch him.
What was interesting is it wasn't just Stenhouse that made a mistake in pit road. We saw Brad Keselowski have a pit stop issue on lap 24. True. It dropped him back, and neither one of them were able to really make a run at the front.
No, they couldn't catch Austin Dillon, no doubt about it. It was his night.
It was.
And I tell you, he didn't get lucky a bit either. I mean, a lot of guys get their first win, and they just kind of luck into it, fuel mileage, something like that. But this kid dominated throughout the night. And I guess one thing as I was watching him, it's amazing how much confidence it's built in him right now. Yeah. How he really feels like he's arrived. He's a race car driver. He's won the truck championship. He's won his first nationwide race at a track that's really tough to drive, real bumpy out there, real hard to get a handle on. And he did that by working together with his team. So his team has got a great combination. Yeah. They're working together, and they understand how to get that car handling.
Well, and what you really like about this young man is he's very humble. He works very hard. When he first came into the series this year, everyone was like, well, he's going to have the best of everything. Mm-hmm. It's going to be given to him. Well, he may have the best of everything, but you've got to drive that thing. You have to have some talent to do what he did tonight. Austin Dillon has a newfound respect throughout that garage area after tonight. I'll guarantee you that.
You know who else is a very happy man right now? Mike Dillon, Austin's dad, who's standing by with Dave Burns.
Hey, he's about the only one we haven't caught up with yet, Nicole. So, Mike, you always want to do better by your kids than you were able to do for yourself. You never won in this series, and now Austin has. What's the feeling for you like?
Oh, it's just incredible. You know, to come into this series and to win this quickly, I knew they were going to run good, but I didn't think they would get a win this quick. So very excited. I'm real excited for Johnny Morris and Bass Pro Shops, Advocare and all the people in the car, and just the whole team. That nationwide shop we have right now is incredible. Those guys work together. All three of our cars are good every week. We have a shot to win a race every week, so it's a lot of fun.
Smiling and having fun down here in Victory Lane for Dad Mike Dillon tonight, guys.
Thanks. The Motorsports Weekend continues on the ESPN family of networks with the O'Reilly Auto Parts Route 66 NHRA Nationals qualifying at 6 o'clock Eastern tomorrow on ESPN2 with the finals Sunday at 6 Eastern, also on ESPN2. And then next week, it's the Subway Jalapeno 250 at Daytona, 7 o'clock Eastern. Please join us on ESPN. That is on Friday. Austin Dillon, the winner tonight, a far cry from his teammate and the gentleman who was the points leader coming into the night, Elliott Sadler, who finished ninth. Do you see this night as a momentum shift within the RCR organization?
I absolutely do. Whenever you can win, you got momentum, and they're going into the right race too. Daytona night race, that is an incredible race down there next week, Brad. And that 3-car, I've seen that thing in Victory Lane so many times, Nicole and Brad, down at Daytona. And I know Mr. Childress, and he builds some big-time horsepower, and that's what it's going to take next week, a great handling car, a good drafting car. Yeah. And going to the next Daytona, next week, they've got the momentum to get it done.
Well, absolutely. And as we come into this season, we're looking at Ricky Stenhouse Jr. As we go to the mile and a half, we got a bunch of them coming up. His name has always been synonymous with winning. But like you pointed out earlier, I think not having that sister car has hurt that program, and they're really struggling. Elliott is really struggling. Hey, we got the Truck Series champion. He wins tonight. Could he be on the verge of winning a Nationwide Series championship and then moving on?
If he continues to perform like he did tonight, then why not?
He looked unbelievable.
I saw a lot of maturity out of Kurt Busch tonight.
Yeah, he did. Kurt did a good job.
Last week, he was very mature out there. Really drove that car good in that Cup race. And tonight, he drove that number 54 monster car really good tonight.
He did a good job.
And really impressive week. I saw a lot of cool guys getting it done out here.
Yeah.
So the last time we saw the 3-car in Victory Lane, it was Daytona in July. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was the driver tonight. It's in Victory Lane because of the young Austin Dillon, the grandson of Richard Childress and the new points leader in the Nationwide Series. Coming up next, Friday Night Fights presented by Corona Extra. Congratulations once again to our winner, Austin Dillon. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. We'll see you next Friday.
Here in Kentucky, the big boys are in town, and they're looking for a challenge.
Back him up. Go, 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 go. I'm driving my off. Save the freaking handful.
Oh, look out.
That horse is headed for the barn.
Is it going to bring a caution out?
Lights are on. Show's about to begin.
This is the heat within which championship contenders are forged.
Car 3 to the checkered flag, Austin Dillon. Woo!